in an open meeting. Prior to the opening of the meeting, there was a request that we actually shift one item 15, to a closed meeting. But if because the item is actually meant, it's a regulatory matter, is that in the event that we are in a position to then reconvene, we'll then request the stakeholders' indulgence that will then reopen the meeting again, and then we can proceed with the matter and make a resolution. So the agenda item number 15 would be shifted to agenda number 25, something that is presently agenda number 25. So we'll just shift that one down to that level. So with that change, members, can I see by show of hands if we can adopt the agenda? Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Madam Assetti. I also support. We do have two members. Okay, so who is not muted? Kindly mute yourself. Thank you. All right, with that, can we then move members? The declaration of interest forms have been published. If we can kindly complete those. And also we request the members of management and staff who are attending this meeting to please complete those forms and submit them. But I'm not too sure if there are any other matters that members may want to declare publicly. I note your hand, Mr. Pokula.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 19, the full-time regulator members' approvals. I would like to recuse myself from that one because there's a matter that's discussed, or there's a matter that was approved that I have pecuniary interest in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pokula. So it's agenda item number 19. I do hope, because we just barely correct, that Mr. Mabunda will still be fine in terms of quorum at that stage, because there will only be 3 members that will be. Yes, Mr. Pokula, and okay, can I take Mr. Pokula first, and then Mr. Choko?
In that case, Chair, maybe we can then put it right after item number 25, or the new 25 we've put in, so that there's no issue of the quorum for the other items.
All right. Okay. Thank you. But I think Mr. Choko may want to guide. Mr. Choko.
Thank you, Chairperson. Indeed. Good morning. The issue of quorum doesn't get affected by a member when that member is recused. Therefore, you will still be quorating. When Mr. Pokula is recused, those that are remaining, they quorate for the purpose of that decision. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much for the guidance. All right, with that, and thank you, Mr. Pokula, for raising that, alerting all of us. So with that, members, kindly fill in the forms. I'm hoping, Mr. Mabunda, that we are able to pick up these interests. I know convene is slightly different, but when we share with you, it then appears on the on your side, so you can actually pick those up. We are hoping that you are not struggling with that. Yes, Mr. Mabunda.
Sorry, Chair. I wanted to press the thumbs up to say yes.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. With that, it doesn't just apply to the members of the committee, but it also applies to the members of to members of staff. Sorry. I see a hand up, Mr. Manaka. I think it was raised in error. At any rate, can we then move on to agenda item number 5? Before I think I hand over to largely going to hand over to Mr. Shozi to drive the presentations. I'd just like to say, members, I'm sure you would have noticed that there's been a marked improvement in the manner in which these submissions are done. I would like to just congratulate the team, and I'm really hope that members also where possible, so we can not just so we can recognize good work that in 2 months there has been a phenomenal improvement in the manner in which these submissions are done. There is still room for improvement, but I think I would just like to just say maybe we can just congratulate the team for the effort that has already been put in here. And thanks to Mr. Shozi and his leadership. Thank you. Can I then hand over to you, Mr. Shozi? Let's present agenda item number 5. Again, you need to take these as read, please, people. Let's just, if we can, just limit it to 3 minutes, just highlighting the issues that we would like the members to note. And if a matter has served before the committee, just to address those issues that the members may have raised. So over to you, Mr. Shozi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to you. Good morning to the members, colleagues, and members of the public attending this meeting. The first submission, Chairperson, is for is an amendment of NRS 048 Part 9, which is the code that governs the reaction by system operators when there's a system emergency with regards to load reduction and the restoration of supply. The last time the code was amended, I think it was 2012. That was then when the stage 6 load shedding was up to stage 8. We have seen recently that there's a possibility, we cannot rule it out, that if there's the EAF does not get improved, we might find ourselves having to have a load shedding stage going beyond stage 8. So this report or this code of practice is there to guide the system operators how they will react should it happen that the load shedding goes beyond stage 8. But Mr. Matume Hupa will guide the members in terms of what has changed and also touched how we have responded with regards to the court judgment on the issues of handling of load shedding. Over to you, Mr. Hupa.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to you, Mr. Shozi, members and colleagues. Taking the matter as read, the purpose is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to approve Edition 3 of the NRS 048 Part 9, which is named Electricity Supply Code of Practice for Load Reduction, System Restoration Practices, and Critical Load and Essential Load Requirements under System Emergencies, as well as to approve the decisions and the reason for the decisions. The authority is per as the extract of Table 1 from the delegation matrix, and it falls on Section 6.1.6. This edition 3 has been developed to address the need for the National Code of Practice for real-time emergency load reduction restoration following a major incident or when there is lack of generation to balance the supply at any given time. The document is developed as a good faith, as a last resort in protecting the grid into facing the blackout or any grid collapse following any system emergencies. The document has been previously deliberated with members, and issues that have been raised are deliberated on Table 2, and the response has been provided. I think the major one is covered under court judgment, which has been covered on the RFD in Section 5.7, and as well as in the NRS Section 4.3.1, on which we say that any court judgment that has been passed on will always overrule this code should there be any contradiction of it. And furthermore, the current edition 2 states that any reduction beyond stage 8, the national control should be the one to open the transmission line in order to control the voltages. But with the draft now of the edition 3, we are saying that in order to align with the court judgment, we can remove the condition and actually establish furthermore stages in which we try to allow licensees to control their load shedding schedules, as well as develop and maintain plans for mandatory load reduction in accordance with the court judgment. And furthermore, consultation process have been taken to ensure that this complies with Section 10 of NERA, as read with the provisions of Section 4 and Section 5 of PAJA. The recommendations are on page 6 of 132 of the submission, And the recommendation is that we recommend the ELS to approve the edition 3 of the NRS 048 Part 3, which is attached as Annexure A, with track changes, and also approve the decision and the reason for the decision, which is attached as Annexure B. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Kopa. And thank you, Mr. Shozi. Members, we've got the submission before us. Can we kindly engage with it? Questions, comments, guidance? Any additions? By show of hands. Mr. Kopa, I guess we've engaged with this a couple of times. We even had a pre-hearing meeting on it and so forth. So I guess maybe members have exhausted any input that they wanted to provide. And so with that, can I then just take the members to the decision that is sought, which is indicated and read into the record? It's on page 6 of 7 of the submission. By show of hands, members, if we can approve. Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Thank you, Madam Assetti. I also support the approval. Madam Spear, any concerns, questions? Support? Madam Spear? Okay. We do have 3 or 4 members in the committee that have supported. So, Mr. Kopa, you've got your decision. Thank you, Madam Spear. I was wondering whether you've got any challenge with I know that sometimes this IT, the systems sometimes have their own challenges. I hope you are fine. If not, please request Mr. Mateja to assist you. Thank you. So, Mr. Shozi, you've got your decision. Can we move on to item 6, please?
Thank you, Chair. The next one, Chair, is a medium-term system adequacy outlook report, which will be presented by Ms. Makubane. This is a Greek code requirement in terms of System Operation Code, Section 2.1, which requires the system operator to publish a reviewed, you call it MTSSO, which will look at the 5-year period in terms of the requirement, in terms of the system meeting the demand. But we will give details in terms of what this reviewed is trying to address. Ms. Makubane can come in.
Before she does, I see Ms. Rakalagane's hand is up.
Oh, okay.
She may want to start.
Okay.
Yes, and thank you, Mr. Shozi, and thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues and members. I just wanted to indicate, Mr. Shozi, that I will be presenting this one assisted by Ms. Makubane.
Okay, Dokas, you can go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, okay, thank you. So, yeah, the purpose of this submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the results of the ESCOM medium-term system adequacy outlook for 2023. This is required by Section 2.1.2 of the System Operation Code, and the actual medium-term system adequacy outlook report, as prepared by ESCOM, is attached as Annexure A, and also to approve the publication of NESA's analysis of the report, which is attached as Annexure B. The Electricity Subcommittee is delegated to approve the publication of NESA's report on the medium-term system adequacy outlook as per clause 3.81 of the electricity delegation matrix. And as indicated before, the report is a grid code requirement, whereby the system operation code requires that on or before 30 October of each year, the system operator should publish a review of the adequacy of the integrated power system to meet the requirements of electricity customers. In summary, the results of the study show that the power system will continue to be constrained in the medium term unless there are drastic improvements on the ESCOM fleet in terms of the improvement of the energy availability factor. Basically, currently, or at the time of the study, the energy availability factor of the ESCOM fleet was sitting at 55%, and the system will come close to adequacy in the improved energy availability factor scenario, which is when the EAF of Eskom is at least 65%. And Chairperson, I would like to make a correction on paragraph 5.13 of the submission, which will then translate to paragraph 5.1 and 5.2 in the report, which indicates that the only scenario that results in an adequate system is the high EAF scenario. So currently, the high EAF scenario brings the system close to adequacy. It does not necessarily make it adequate, but it brings it. It brings great improvement. However, the system will still remain constrained in the medium term. I'll take the submission as read. There are other scenarios that were considered, but they bring improvements. But the scenario that brings the most improvement is the one of improvement in Eskom's performance. So I'll take the submission as read and come to the recommendations that are on page 8. It is recommended that the Electricity Subcommittee note the results of the medium-term system adequacy outlook for 2023 as published by Eskom, and approve the publication of NESA's report on the medium-term system adequacy outlook 2023 attached as Annex B on the NESA website. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Rakhalakani. Members, you've got the document before us for engagement. Questions, comments, advice? Seems also that this one is also just as clear. I guess doesn't mean that it's a nice report, but it's clear. We would wish that that high energy, that high EAF scenario could materialize, so we can solve the problems of security supply, of electricity supply in the country. With that, members, can I then take you to the decision that is sought, which is on page 8 of 8 in terms of the submission, or the overstamp page 8 of 6. Yes, Madam Maseti.
I'm so sorry to do this. I had a problem with the network connection. It was just interrupted, so I had to change the source very quickly. There is the issue that I wanted to raise, Chair.
Yes, please. You can proceed, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, in this submission, I would have appreciated a situation where our powers and the extent of our powers are clarified insofar as NERSA should make sure that it indicates or direct areas of improvement for the licensee in terms of its performance. Now, we are just told about the supply constraints, but we are not told as to what are the challenges and how the challenges can be, at least from our independent verification, understanding how the assets, the different power stations are performing from our side, the units within these power stations, how they are performing. We do at least, I think we deserve to at least be told, even with the new power station, Kusile, for instance, and the different units there, there was indication of a very good EAF in one of the units at Kusile, but we are not hearing that, so that at least we are able to understand whether, as we look forward, whether we can expect a better performance by this licensee. So it seems to me we are just looking at what we are told. From our side, I'm not convinced as to what kind of technical assessment that we have done from our side for our independent verification, and the way that we see the problems. And as I say, to see the problems, we are also not stating how the maintenance is being executed here by Eskom in order to try and improve performance of the plants. So I would have expected that at least we touch on that to say these are the measures to improve performance by Eskom. And we see that in terms of their maintenance regime, the scope of maintenance and the way that they're doing maintenance, it can at least be in a position to improve performance. So we're not hearing those kind of things. And then we can even have our sort of areas of improvement as part of this report, so that at least we can see a change rather than to just rubber stamp and see what are the the things that are said and the fact that they are constrained. If you can just be taken through that, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Any further comments? If you can assist us then, colleagues, with this question, just to expand a little bit, what are our powers as NERSA to improve this? What are the challenges, and can we expect a better performance from this licensing? Can I hand over back to you?
Okay, before Utoka's comment, thanks for those comments, Maseti. Yes, we'll have to look at this provision, which is the requirement right now, which is section 2.1.2, if we cannot enhance it to incorporate what we have just highlighted as a challenge or for NERSA to focus on. But in addition to that, we recall that members that I think in the ELS of Jan, we submitted the consultation paper for SQR's service incentives for generation, of which we are trying to bring that trying to address the challenge around the non-performing generators at Eskom, like we are doing on distribution and transmission network. So that will form part of what you have just said, to say, looking forward, how do we address the individual performance at power station, even at unit level? But we take that guide, and then colleagues probably not giving because let me say we note that we probably look at what the code is saying and how can we enhance it to factor your consent. But that will be my preliminary response to that. Thanks.
Before you add, Mr. Shakala, can I recognize Mr. Pokula?
Thank you, Chair. The code really. The grid code really talks about the reporting. There's nothing that needs to be added to the code. The request that Ms. Maseti is making is one that we should commission our own, verification. I mean, there are reports from VGBE and others, but we as a regulator haven't been vocal around the things that get reported to us, and I think that's the question. That's the request from Ms. Maseti. Doesn't need to be added to the grid code. Thank you, Chair. Thank you,
Mr. Pokola, for clarification. And also, thank you, Madam Maseti. And I think the request from the members, Mr. Shozi, is one, as explained, is that it's not about the code, but to then say, we are entrusted with regulating this industry. And the question is, what is it that we specifically as NERSA are going to do to actually contribute positively towards a better performance of this licensing? So I think rather, can we take that as an enhancement, as a matter arising, so you can think through with the team, Mr. Shozi, put up a proper proposal back to the committee to say, this is what we're going to do, taking into account even these reports that have been published, the 614-page report by the National Treasury Consultants. The question is, what is it that we as NERSA can and will be doing? And of course, maybe indicate any constraints, if any, including financial or other resources, and not just indicate, but come up with a plan that says how we're going to incorporate those. So, yes, Mr. Pokola.
Thank you, Mr. Gumede. For me, it's just a comment that when I read the report, half of the things that are being said in that report are, if not all of them, are the things that NASA has indicated in one document or the other, but maybe never really package, or it probably didn't get that sort of attention. So it would really be good that we also just, I mean, as part of Eskom having to report anyway on the MYPD, because we did say that what they're being given is on condition the PCLF and the UCLF and EAF improve by this much. So we can package it as part of that. But it's really a PR matter that I mean, we have a report that's saying the same things, and it's as though it's revealing something new, although many have said there's nothing new in the report. Thank you, Chair. That's just a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Pokola. So, Mr. Shozi, you heard the members. I saw your thumbs up. So I'm not sure, members, if there's anything else. Because if not, then I would like us to take us to that decision, but to then add a third issue here, that as requested by members, we do need to come back with a plan. We need to indicate what is it that we will do, and especially identifying things that we may have said in the past as part of our revenue approvals we were going to do anyway, and indicate why those have not been done, if they have not been done. If it's about the resource requirements, identify those resources, not just in terms of them lacking, but in terms of where we're going to find those resources and do those things that we've committed to do. So those are the actual recommendations. Members, the show of hands, can we approve them? Thank you, Mr. Pokola. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Thank you, Madam Spear. I also support Mr. Shozi. You've got your decision, and also the request from the members. So we're hoping that that one of the future meetings you're going to come back to us initially with a plan in terms of what we're going to do, and of course going forward with some action in terms of what we can do, especially those things that we had already committed to in previous decisions at NASA. Thank you. If we can then step off that one and go to agenda item number 7, Mr. Shozi.
Thanks, Chairperson. The agenda item number 7, Chair, is we are requesting the Subcommittee to recommend to the Energy Regulator to approve the RFD for Eskom 6-year and PA for Glencore a chrome venture ferrochrome smelter, which is in Rustenburg. Chairperson, the submission served at the ER of the 15th or 14th of December, where the actual NPA was approved by the Energy Regulator, but then we're guided by the Energy Regulator to take the RFD to the ELS for further enhancement. We have effected the enhancement as we were guided by the ER, and those enhancements are captured on the RFD under section 2 and 7. But I have Ms. Mabinya to talk to the actual enhancement at a high level, and then we're going to go to the decision that has been sought. Ms. Mabinya, you can come in, ma'am.
Thank you, Chairperson, Mr. Shozi. Good morning, Chairperson, members and colleagues. As Mr. Shozi has indicated, that the actual legal enhancements have been done under sections 2 and 7 of the RFD. And the members at the ER did request that where the RFD be taken for grammatical enhancements, and the submission has been edited by the language editor. Members also requested that a stakeholder analysis enhancement be done on the RFD. This has also is done on Annexure B, which is on page 54 of 59 of the submission. Chairperson, the recommendations are on page 7 of 59, and it's recommended that ELS recommends to the ER approval of the RFD for the NPA between Eskom and the Glencore Rustenburg smelter. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Mabenya, and thank you, Mr. Shozi. Members, the item is before us for engagement. As indicated, the decision was made that the RFD needed to be enhanced. I'm not sure if there are any further comments thereon. It doesn't seem like there are any further comments. So members, if I can then take you to the decision that is sought, as indicated, is on page 7, paragraph 14, that they are recommending that we as the subcommittee recommend to ER to approve the RFD for the ESCOM 6-year NPA, NPA for Glencore Merafe Chrome Ventures, ferrochrome smelter operations in Rustenburg. By show of hands. Thank you, Madam Aseti. Thank you, Madam Sbia. Thank you, Mr. Bukula. Ms. Mabenya, you've got your decision. Can we then step off this one and go to item 8, Mr. Shozi?
Thanks, Chairperson. Chairperson, with your permission, I would like to introduce item 8, 9, and 10 all at once. They are similar, but when we go to the decision that is being sought, I will then go to the individual submission, if that is fine by you, Chairperson.
Yes, please, you can proceed.
Okay, Chairperson, ELC department every year they would put together a plan for that upcoming year. In this case, they are putting these plans for 2024, 2025. The plans are for the department to conduct on generation side, to conduct compliance enforcement through that plan that they will have developed, and also on generation to do the same. They conduct compliance enforcement for the 2024, 2025. And also on the generation side, there was on item number 10, we are saying there's a plan that you remember what colleagues want to be approved for them to conduct the actual audit. So the difference between 9 and 10 is that is the monitoring. The number 10 is an actual audit. So Chairperson, on agenda item number 8, the decision that is being sought is on page 4 of 11 on the green stamp, which is to request the electricity subcommittee to approve the electricity generation compliance enforcement plan for 2024-2025 financial year, which is attached as Annexure A. Thanks, Chairperson. Let me pause there for now for item number 8.
Chair, you are muted.
Sorry, apologies. I'm talking to a muted mic. Thank you. I was just asking members, any questions on the plan as presented? I see Madam Spear. You can proceed, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the presenters. Chair, I think it's an issue that I raised it before because there was an issue of ensuring enforcement. To say, how do we deal with issues where, even though we request quarterly progress reports, etc., the auditees are not cooperating? What are the penalty measures we can impose on such issues? The team previously said they are looking into that. Where are we with regards to that? Because and as they are mentioning in here, sometimes they are unable to submit information on time, and there's lack of cooperation. There needs to be some sort of management from our side, not just providing support. Sometimes you need to punish so that the behavior can come into check. That's what I wanted to ask from the team. Where are we with regards to that, the corrective measures? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Spear. Madam Aseti.
Chairperson, my question relates to maybe that just the significance of this exercise, because in reality, we are facing, if I were to talk about the generation one, the plan for the generation compliance, maybe I should start by asking, what is this compliance? Is it technical compliance or technical audits that are going to be done here? Because I'm already looking at a situation where, for instance, ESCOM would have indicated to the energy regulator through its production plan what it is going to do in order to be able to perform at a particular level, especially with the EAF and the other factors. And then almost every 2 weeks, you hear about unplanned outages. And as we're sitting here today, again, we've got about more than what is it? Is it 6,000 megawatts of unplanned outages? So they're quite significant. And how come, first of all, they are unable to sort of preempt these things, those unplanned outages, if they're all, they're working on this and put some sort of preemptive measures to at least ameliorate the unplanned outages, because you get such a significant amount that is on unplanned outages. That's the first thing. So and then the second thing is now with regards to maintenance. If, as we give them money for maintenance and they give us the maintenance plan, and now if we're now going to look at how they have complied with that maintenance plan, how are we going to deal with that if, for instance, they have to pause maintenance so that at least they ameliorate the impact of those major unplanned outages, and therefore maintenance maybe cannot be performed because you want to ensure at least some availability of supply from the remaining ones, which is the second thing now on unplanned maintenance. And how are you going to deal with that if they can't execute that maintenance in the way that they had planned to execute, or they execute it even over weekends and have to use other emergency reserves so that they're able to deal with this. So that is the second thing. How are we going to deal with that situation in terms of ensuring compliance? And maybe the third thing that we also don't talk about is the sort of the dispatching roles here, because if then that production plan that they give us is of no use at all, they will have to use maybe the weekly plans depending on the situation, and they digress almost completely from the plan that we sort of took into consideration when we approved the revenue for Eskom. And they digress from that. It means, what are we going to do with such situations, given the situation as we know it today? And having asked these questions, are we not just doing the exercise just for the sake of doing the exercise, looking at the circumstances that this licensee is operating in here? Otherwise, then it becomes a sort of an issue. And also, I'm not hearing us doing some monitoring at a technical level to the extent that we can be able to sort of be convinced that there are units that are simply not going to perform very well, and be much more proactive in this regard, because I have not seen or heard something that convinces me that we are a bit proactive when it comes to this. May I just be clarified, really, in terms of the significance and the implications of this exercise? Because to me, it may just appear to be something that we just do it for the sake of doing it, but given the circumstances, the practical circumstances, and the way that we are doing our monitoring, it might not be at the desired level. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Aseti. Mr. Shozi, back to you.
Thanks, Chair. I was looking at the colleagues from ELC who's hoping that they showed this here, but I'll try. I think what Ms. Maseti is raising, probably we will have to have a submission that will address all the issues that she has raised comprehensively, because what she's raising is what we attempted to do, I think, around 2020, before COVID. We had started with there was a framework that was approved by the regulator around the performance auditing of Eskom generation fleet. At the time when we wanted to implement the framework, we experienced some challenges around the tools that were lacking at that time. So if we have to go to those details, probably we'll have to go that route, because the current audits, they don't go to the extent of going to the performance of the power station, because poor performance of power station comes from different sources, either from coal, from boilers, and so on and so on. So we need to have a tool that will talk to those. I think the colleagues, when in our report, when we are reporting what can be done, probably we'll have to touch on that, how we intend to address that. But the plan here is to say for 2024, 2025, we'll do 10 audits. It doesn't say which power station and what will be done, but currently we're just doing an audit in terms of license condition. But maybe if we have to extend the scope and factor in the performance audit, then that tool will have to be concluded. But we'll give a report in terms of how we're going to address Ms. Maseti's questions. On the issue that is raised by Ms. Sibia on what is it that you do when there's a persistent non-compliance from these distributors. We have started with the framework. It's just that at this stage, the colleagues were wanted to have the framework to serve at the ELS for consideration, but in consultation with legal, we felt that the document is not yet ready, needs some further work. What we want to do, we are improving that framework, compliance framework for distribution, to say we're putting a step further. What power in terms of what powers the energy regulator has in terms of imposing penalties on repeat offenders. So that framework, once it's approved, we are of the view that we won't have a situation where we keep on doing one and the same thing, hoping to get different results. So in terms of the matters arising, I think we have committed that framework, compliance monitoring framework, together with investigation framework, which will serve in the first quarter of 2024-2025. It's a work in progress. We are working closely with legal to say what will be the next step after we have engaged with the licensees, until such time that we of the view that there is no cooperation or none whatsoever. I think, Chair, that will be my response for now, and to say for Ms. Maseti, let's go back with the team and put a report with plans. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Do you require any support from LAS, perhaps, if any?
Yes, I would love if Mr. Brad is here just to touch on the issue of the framework that you have already, so that you can link it with the powers of the tribunal and so on. Thanks.
Mr. Mrati, can you comment, please?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members and colleagues. It's correct, Chair, that we in the realignment of the framework to enable the colleagues to perform the function, there was a need that was identified, that the misalignment between management powers to deal with the issues within the framework, it's more of an encroachment on the powers that the regulator members should have. So there's a need that it's going to be realigned to recognize where the management exercise ends and where the regulator powers it's supposed to be effected to take the process forward prior to it being finalized. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Shozi, if we can then also perhaps just include the technical side, because as you've indicated, this is really about, in the main, it's about compliance with license conditions. But there is a concern, a visible concern from Madam Maseti around the technical audits, and we need to be able to incorporate that as well into this. I'd assume that in the same manner as we do with other conditions of license, they may well be. It might be whether it's compliance with codes or whatever the issue might be, which are more rules for the industry. So all of those things, if we can, as we do this compliance with conditions of license, also can we also just incorporate those technical audits, linking it up with that section 18, as Mr. Murati has been explaining. All right, members, are you satisfied with the responses, Madam Spear, Madam Massetti? Comfortable? Or are there any follow-ups? Thank you. I see thumbs up, Madam Spear. Thank you, Madam Massetti. With that, can I then move the committee to the decision that is sought, which is on the overstamped page 4 of 11 in this particular case. It is recommended that the ELS approves the 2024-25 electricity generation compliance and enforcement plan, which is attached here to as annexure A. By show of hands, members, if we can approve that. Thank you, Mr. Pokunda. Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Madam Massetti. Mr. Shozi, you've got your decision. You can then move on to item number 9, in as far as explaining any differences to what we've dealt with in terms of item 8.
Thanks, Chair. As indicated initially, that the only difference is that the one that you've just approved is for generation. Item number 9, Chair, is similar, but the plan, enforcement plan, is for 2024-2025, or for distribution compliance. Is attached as Appendix 1. The decision that is sought is on page 4 of 8 on the green stamp of the submission. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you. I'll assume that the comments made by members again on the generation one would also apply to this plan, correct?
Correct, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Members, any additional questions, comments on this one? Very similar, just different set of licenses. No hands. I guess, members, your comments on the first on agenda item number 8 are so noted as well and included in this. And can I then take you to a decision on paragraph 14, page 4 of 4, the submission. So in this case, the committee is requested to note the distribution compliance and enforcement audit plan for the 24-25 financial year. Herein attached as Appendix 1. By show of hands, members, if we can note that. Thank you, Mr. Pugura. Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Madam Massetti. Mr. Shozi, you've got your decision. If we can take us to agenda item number 10, please. Sorry, there is a hand before you do, Mr. Mabunda.
Chair, apologies, I did not go into the content of the submission. It's marked as approval on the agenda. Are we taking the correct decision? Mr. Shozi can confirm, is it noting or is approval, this item 9?
The matrix as shown there, it's taken straight from the currently approved, so it's for noting, unless otherwise the matrix itself is incorrect, but it's for noting.
Okay, so it is for noting. I was actually thinking about it. I had not seen it because the previous one is note and approve, but that's for item 8. But yeah, okay. So this one you're saying is just for noting. It's correctly been phrased. All right, thank you. With that, can we then move on to agenda item number 10?
Thanks, Chair. The agenda item number 10, Chair, we are recommending that the Electricity Subcommittee approve the electricity generation compliance audit for 2024-2025 attached as Annexure A. The decision sought is on page 4 of 10, the green number.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair.
For some reason, the quality of your connection deteriorated a bit there, Mr. Shozi. If you can sort that out before you come back. Members, we've got item 10. If we can engage with it, any questions, comments, enhancements? If not, the decision again that is sought is on page, it's on page 4 of 10, overstamped 4 of 10. And the decision as sought is that the electricity subcommittee, that it approves the electricity generation compliance audit plan for 24-25, attached here to as Annexure A. So this one is for approval, members, if we can approve this by show of hands. Madam Spear, Mr. Bokula, Madam Maseti, thank you. I think that's why, Mr. Shozi, this is confusing, because these two plans are for approval, but item 9 is for noting. I guess that's where the challenge is. But I could see from the from the matrix that you quoted that I guess is a correct one, but it's just a bit confusing. With that, can I then take you to agenda item number 11? And yeah, can I take you to agenda item number 11?
Thanks, Chairperson. On this one, let me just invite Mr. Mwanza to come through right away so that you can save time. Mr. Mwanza, you can come in, assume that the submission has been read. Just take the members through what is important for this submission. Thanks.
Thank you and good morning to the members and the colleagues. Chairperson, I will take the submission as read. The purpose of this submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to amend the generation license of Mondi South Africa to include 2 customers in their Schedule 3 of their generation license. This matter is duly delegated to this committee, Chair. Chair, the amendments with respect to Mondi, they are renewing or extending their PPA with Umhlathuze municipality. And secondly, they are entering into a new PPA with Eskom under the Emergency Generation Procurement Program. Chair, we therefore recommend the recommendations that are set out in clause 14 of this submission, page 6 of 121. It is therefore requested that the Electricity Subcommittee notes the 3-year extension PPA between Mondi and Umhlathuze and also approve the tariff in the PPA between Mondi and Umhlathuze, and also approve the power purchase between Mondi and Eskom, and also approve the tariff in the PPA between Mondi and Eskom, and finally approve the draft decision and reason for decision documentation as attached as Appendix A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mwanza. Members, we've got a document before us for comments, additions, for deliberation. Madam Asset.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just on the nature of the decision required from us, Chairperson, my question relates to our powers to approve the PPA, whether we are supposed to approve this proposed PPA between Mondi and Eskom. Is it within our powers that we must approve a PPA, or to approve the terms of the PPA, of which terms maybe relate to the areas that we regulate? For instance, maybe the tariffs and areas of supply and things like that that are within our powers. So if we can be clarified whether we approve the PPA per se, or we note the PPA between the 2 parties, because it's an agreement between the 2 parties, and then we then approve specific aspects of the PPA, such as the tariff, for instance. Just clarification on that. The second thing that I would like to understand, given this extension, which I am in support of, I just want to understand whether this 3-year extension has been considered in the revenue determination that was done by Eskom during the period that is proposed here. I just want to understand that so that we make sure that it is considered within the period that is aligned to the proposed period in this. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Aseti. Over to you, Mr. Mwanza, but I saw Mr. Mkiza's hand went up. I think he's going to support you, but maybe you can start and you can request input from legal.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the question from Ms. Masetti. Chair, yes, I agree with Ms. Masetti. I think it was an oversight from our side. We should note this PPA. We will be taking the precedent that happened last year in the ELS of September, where the energy regulator noted this the ESCOM emergency procurement program PPA. So therefore, I agree and support that it should be a noting. It was just an oversight on our side. Secondly, on the question of the second question, the PPA and East tariff were noted last year as part of the cost recovery mechanism that were included into the issues of the revenue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mwanza. Madam Masetti, are you covered?
I'm covered, Chairperson, for as long as it is incorporated. It was anticipated, and it will be able to recover it rather than just recover it from the RCA amount. That already. That is fine, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. As part of the STPP program, I would assume. Mr. Pokola?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I just want to check the paragraph 5.4 talks about a maximum allowable tariff of 4 Rand per kilowatt hour. I'm not sure it's allowable by who and the basis of that, or maybe if I could just get an explanation there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Pokola. Mwanza, please explain paragraph 5.4.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yes, after the applicant has given the forecast energy to ESCOM, there will be the bidding of the price of that energy. That's what this paragraph 5.4 is trying to explain. Perhaps we can enhance it to say that the buying tariff from ESCOM should not exceed the tariff that is stated there. Thank you.
Mr. Pokola, is it clear? I guess the issue is that
I hear what he's saying, but I'm just trying to understand who set the top bar, because I mean, if they bid 24 hours and they bid before the open cycle gas turbines, and if they are then saying that you would pay 4.50 if you run your open cycle gas turbines, for us we say you must pay 3 Rand or 4.10 or something. So it's that maximum. I'm not sure who set it and how it was. That's really my question.
Thank you, Mr. Mwanza. If we can indicate it this way, was this part of the bid? Because I assume this is part of the STPP. There was a bidding. If we can clarify that, and but before you do, I see Madam Masetti's hand is up. Follow up, Madam Masetti.
Chairperson, is on the same issue. I think maybe the language that is used might be misleading. And it might bring some complexities once we start talking about that allowable and not allowable, because that would have already been covered under Section 15, because Section 15 states clearly that the licensee will not charge a tariff that is not approved by the regulator. And we have had instances where we make sure that licensees do not deviate from the tariff, unless then there are certain circumstances like the one that Mr. Pokola is talking about, because that is where then you get those sort of RCAs, for example, for anything that is above the costs that were allowed during the determination of the revenue. So I'm not sure about the language. Maybe we can just leave it where it is, the amount of that tariff as it stands, because we are covered by the powers in section 15 that they don't deviate. If they were to deviate, then they will obviously have reasons. I just wanted to suggest that we remove those other words. Thank you.
Mr. Mwanza, if we can kindly explain this and then reword it accordingly in terms of enhancement, because I think perhaps it's unclear. Please reword it, or rather, before you reword, please explain this so that it's clear to the members exactly what they are approving.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to explain and then reword it. Chairperson, this price was taken from the PPA from Eskom. That will be entered between Eskom and the licensee. Now, what they are saying that Eskom will buy this power from the generator within a price which will not be over 4 rand per kilowatt. That's what the PPA is saying. And it means that the licensee, when the licensee are giving Eskom the forecast, they will agree in terms of their bidding what is the price, the buying price from Eskom of that power. Yes, in a nutshell, Chair, that is it. Thank you.
Still very confusing. I think the question asked by Mr. Pukula, who decided on that 4 rand per kilowatt hour? Is that something that, because Mondi itself is a licensee, so it cannot charge a price other than that is approved by the regulator in terms of section 15.2. The question that is that's coming out here is, when we've got a number like that within the allowable maximum tariff for 4 rand per kilowatt hour, who decides that? By the way, is it 400 or is it 4,000? Sounds 4,000 per megawatt hour sounds a bit high. But anyway, the question that is asked here by members is this: who decides on that price? Is that governed by a tender process that was done by in terms of the STPP, that was the outcome and hence how those people were chosen? Or who decides this? How was it decided, that number? Can you just at least explain that bit?
Yes, Chair. I think this number was decided by Eskom, since the PPA is their document, was drafted by them. However, this tariff was also noted as part of the cost recovery last year in September during the ELS. So I would like to think it's a number that was decided by Eskom. Thank you.
All right. Please reword this. I think if we can get assistance, Mr. Mwanza, from the tariffing guys, to actually word this thing properly. But it's really just an output of that STPP program. Therefore, there was a tender process. So that was what they tendered as a maximum price. But the question is, and please have it explained properly, that in terms of it being dispatched, because they'll only get paid when they are dispatched, I would assume. So if we can just expand a little bit on that, extract perhaps the provision of the PPA, because they actually relate to this tariff. So that would be for enhancement. I think that paragraph 5.4 is a bit confusing. Yeah, yes, Madam Aseta, I note that. So I think, colleagues, so I don't know if, in respect of whether you are comfortable in actually making the decision with that, with the improvement of the wording, because as far as we know, that price was stipulated, came out of the STPP program, and was noted, or that price was approved in terms of the revenue requirement of the cost recovery as part, and also as part of the revenue application by Eskom. So it's not just a price that is set by Eskom, that bidding, but it can be better explained. But I'm not sure that it actually affects your decision. So members, Yeah, so I'll just take you to the recommendation and reread it, but with that change on paragraph C, that the ELS is being requested to note the 3-year extension PPA between Mondi and Umhlatuze, to approve the tariff between Mondi and Umhlatuze, and the tariff is 4% below the total approved Eskom Megaflex local authority tariff, and the demand rates for municipality zone and transmission voltage connection, paragraph 7 of the PPA. And this indicated that the full details can be found in the PPA. And then C, that we note the PPA between Mondi and Eskom Holdings. And then D, we approve the tariff with that clarification or that enhancement on paragraph 5.4, the tariff in the PPA between Mondi and Eskom Holdings. And then E, approve the decision, the draft decision, and the reasons for decision as included as Appendix A. Members, would we, by show of hands, be able to make the decision? Thank you, Mr. Pokul.
Sorry,
Okay.
Mr. Gumede. Mr. Gumede, I think when I was asking that question, it was in relation to what you've just raised. This is power from the same plant. In the one municipality, the power goes for less than Megaflex. In the other, it goes up to 4 rand. And that's really the anomaly that I wanted us to deal with. But I am not opposed to approving if these are PPAs that have already been there. But I don't think as a regulator we would have exercised our function of ensuring that the costs that get recovered are the full costs with a reasonable margin. And a reasonable margin for the power being sold to Eskom can't be justified at that rate if the same power plant produces other power and it sells it to another client at a rate that's below Megaflex. So it's that part that I was hoping the colleagues would explain. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Yeah, I with this, I'm always challenged to see whether, therefore, are we in a position to actually make a decision, or should we defer this decision to when this issue has been better clarified, especially that serious concern that's been raised of the disparities between the price charged to a municipality at a particular rate and the one that is charged to Eskom. Yes, these are governed by the PPAs that exist between the two. But yeah, so I'm not too sure, members, can I be guided? Maybe I can frame the question this way. Would members be better suited to, or would members rather request that the team considers that 5.4 properly and then come back with this submission? Mr. Pokula?
Chair, I do want to propose, excuse me, that we approve and that this just becomes a follow-up, because any delay in approving these PPAs also means that we may be delaying the injection of power into the system. We still have an opportunity to catch it afterwards when dealing with Eskom and how they would have procured additional power and whether they have done it efficiently or not. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Yes, that's Mamaram here. Further comments? Or would you also approve?
Yes, Chair. Just, Chair, a comment from my side. Can we not approve and then say the issues of the actual rate? It's the issue between the two parties. We are approving the contract the same, but the actual rate is between the two parties.
I unfortunately, the contract we can only note, which is that PPA. We don't have power over it. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that we have power of is actually the tariff, and that should have been. In fact, the licensee cannot charge a tariff other than that is other than the tariff that is approved by the regulator. Now, the issue that's been raised by Mr. Pokula, which is a very valid concern is that firstly, if we don't approve, we are delaying certain things. And secondly, if it's in the PPA anyway, it's in the PPA. It's not like we're going to be able to change it now. It's in the PPA, but perhaps it's the wording, and there might be a clarification of why it is the case that the one state organ gets a different price from another state organ. There may well be a valid reason. That may be a follow-up. Madam Assetti.
Chairperson, I hear the points raised by my colleagues. My only worry is that at the time of taking the decision, we must be comfortable with regards to the justification on the different prices that are charged. I would like to hear whether the team is able to at least indicate whether we are facing different cost structures here, because it might well be that the cost of supply to Eskom or to the I hear that there is actually from the same plant, but there may well be different costs involved in enabling supply to Eskom and enabling supply to the municipality. That is the one thing. The second thing, I will assume also that it will go with the bargaining powers, that are utilized in the negotiation of the price. But I'm not hearing those two critical factors coming out from the team, so that at least you give comfort in the way that we take the decision, a decision that is at least well informed now that we have observed the discrepancies. At least that if those two factors are clarified, I think we can be in a position to take a decision, unless the team would like some more time so that we take a decision then by way of a round robin, if we can't take it today on those two aspects. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Maybe I'll again hand over to both to Mr. Shozi. I'm not sure if you can assist. You can get EPT, and the people that are very familiar with these two contracts, contract between Mondi and Mhlathuze, and the contract between Eskom and Mondi. Are you able to perhaps assist members at this stage so we can take a decision?
Chairperson, my proposal on this one, before it could be deferred, probably we can move this agenda item further down the agenda while we're allowing colleagues to behind the scene to come up with the answers that will probably address members' concern. If we're at the end of the meeting, the issues are not addressed, then we can go to the proposed solution by Ms. Massetti to take it through round robin, wherein we'll have addressed all the issues, if that is allowed, Chairperson.
Thank you. I think that's a progressive proposal. So can we move this item then to just before that item that was moved from item 15 to 25? And if the team members can then, in the meantime, be looking and finding the answers to the questions that have been asked by members, including issues of the length of contract, because I assume that in Mhlathuze contract is a long contract, and this one would probably be a 3-year contract. But if we can look at all of those things, and then just before we move on to item number 15, we will come back to this item. So the decision on item 11 is deferred to later. All right, thank you. Let's move on to agenda item number 12, Mr. Shozi. And may I request that when we introduce this, to link it to if there's anything else that is linked to that. I'm not sure if there is. Yeah, but anyway, can I hand over to you, please?
Thanks, Chairperson. Yes, definitely. Agenda item number 11 and 12 are linked. I will explain why they are linked. Chairperson, the Eskom is going through a process of being unbundled to have a NTCSA, which is a national transmission company, of which the energy regulator has already issued 3 licenses for system operation, trading, import and export. So in terms of the energy action plan, as announced by His Excellency President Ramaphosa, the NTSA must be fully functioning by end of March 2024, which is the 29th. But Eskom has to meet some suspensive conditions from a number of government entities, including NERSA. From NERSA side, Eskom had to meet 5 suspensive conditions, and then 5 of those, 3 of which the issuing of licenses was one of those. We've passed that stage. Chairperson, the Eskom now is the agenda item number 11 is in terms of the suspensive condition, they will have to have the transmission license being amended. In terms of agenda item number 12, amendment 13, Eskom has to sit right an obligation to the newly formed NTSA. What in terms of Chairperson, you recall that during our Section 34 determination, Eskom was designated as a buyer of that energy. With this transaction now, NTSA will become a buyer. So those rights that were Eskom rights will need to be ceded. So we have been approached by Eskom to amend our regulatory tools, including the generation license and so on. But Chairperson, what needs to be noted is that even though the due date is 29th of March to have the fully functioning NTSA, Eskom has to have decisions by the energy regulator before or on the 15th of March so that they can start with their processes in line with the government resolutions. So these 2 submissions they are here to assist the process in terms of getting the decision by the energy regulator to assist Eskom to reach those timelines. Around when we get into details on agenda item number 13, Chair, we will also highlight that the submission by Eskom is in terms of Section 21 of the Act. However, when we looked at the delegation matrix, we realized that we don't have those powers delegated to ELS to make a decision. Therefore, we move to the closest delegation in terms of Section 34, where we will be asking the Energy Subcommittee to recommend to the energy regulator for approval of all the issues that we'll be raising in the 2 submissions. I thank you, Chairperson. But with that, let me call Mr. Bear to introduce agenda item number 12. Thanks.
Good morning, Chairperson, members and colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to briefly introduce this. A lot of what I was going to highlight has been outlined by Mr. Shozi, which was the context in which where certain things have had to be adjusted to enable this operationalization of the NTCSA by the date at the end of March. Simply to say that taking this document as read, or this item as read, we agreed with the explanation given by NTCSA/Eskom in the application that the retaining of the MYPD 5 determination was both correct in terms of governance and efficiency, and therefore the tariff would be determined through the application of that MYPD 5 revenue determination over the 3 years. And this got incorrectly translated into interim tariff application, whereas not interim tariff, and therefore we have been asked as a measure as part of these suspensive conditions just to clarify that this that isn't an application that's required, that the revenues will be allocated according to the way that it was outlined in the application, and therefore an application is no longer ready so as to manage any risk associated with revenue and sustainability for the new entity. Therefore, the recommendation for the ELS is to approve the attached amended license, Annex A, for the NTSA transmission license, and specifically the amended wording for under license condition 12 and the amendment of Schedule 3 of the license. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bear. Remembers, item 12, we'll deal with item 12 first. for your engagement. Can you engage with it? Questions of clarity, enhancements, comments? Seem like there are any. Just basically correcting that incorrectly worded condition 12.1. It's been so corrected now. Thank you. Members, can I then take you to the decision, which is on, this is for us to approve as the ELS. It's on paragraph 14.1, as read into the record by Mr. Bear. Can I see by show of hands, members, if we can approve? Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Madam Massetti. Thank you, Mr. Pokula. I also support the approval. So that paragraph is so amended. Can we then move to item 13? Who's going to present this one, Mr. Shozi?
I will ask Dorcas to present. She will be assisted with Mr. Murati, where the issues of legal less should be out. Dorcas, you can come in.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shozi. Actually, Mr. Nwasheng will present, but let me just indicate, because you've already given a background to the matter, and for me, it's just to indicate that we have, as part of the submission, also included an addendum which is meant to make some corrections to the submissions, but mainly highlighting that Eskom's application is for NERSA consent for Eskom to cede powers from the National Transmission Company to from Eskom. They're ceding the powers from Eskom to National Transmission Company. And secondly, they are asking for NERSA to issue the NTCSA with a cost recovery letter for the Section 34 IPPs. And thirdly, they are also requesting that NERSA amend the independent power producer licenses that are currently listed in Annex Cha 1, where on these generation licenses, Eskom needs to be substituted with the NTCSA as the buyer now in terms of Section 16(1)(d) of the Electricity Act. So just to indicate that the purpose of the addendum was mainly to address the issue of the cost recovery letter, and also the issue of the amendment of the independent power producer licenses, because initially they were not covered in detail, as we thought they would need to be considered separately for a decision. But after further deliberations with the legal team, we were advised that because all the items are linked, their approval is as a consequence of the approval for consent. So the approval for consent for NERSA and also other decisions that have been taken in the past through the licensing process basically then result in the approval of the issue of the cost recovery letter and the independent power producer generation license amendment. So I will stop there and just maybe ask Mr. Nwasheng to just highlight the purpose and then take us to the recommendation, just taking the submission as read, as I've already given input, and Mr. Shozi also has already given input. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms.
Yes, please proceed.
Thanks, Mr. Rakalakani. Thanks, Chair, for the presentation that I'll be making. Morning, Chair, morning, members, and morning management and colleagues. Okay, as colleagues have already provided background, what I'm gonna be doing now is to actually go through the changes that are there on the amendment, and also going to also the changes that we have recognized after putting the submission together. And I'll also put context in the sense that when we're putting a submission together, we had an application in around December, and we didn't have, complete information. As you might see that we've got addendums, we've got letters from Eskom that we recently received. So I'll just quickly go through the changes that we recommend. The first one, I'll go to the corrections, which is paragraph 2.3, page 2 of 71, where the word of note is going to be replaced by approve. That's exactly what the my colleagues have already said, that the note will be changed, but I'm just putting on record just to read all the paragraphs accordingly. And then paragraph 14.3, on page 9 of 71, the word note as well goes as changed to approve. And the draft decision 3 on page 11 of 71, the word noted is changed to approve. And paragraph 62, page 19 of 71, the word outstanding is replaced by the letter that I've already said that they were outstanding, which is ESCOM letter to NERSA confirming notification to all Section 34 IPPs. So without repeating myself much, the paragraph 9.13, page 26 of 71, the word outstanding as well, because when we are writing the submission, we just put outstanding because the information was outstanding. We've got the letter and it's going to be replaced by ESCOM letter to NERSA confirming notification to all Section 34 IPPs. Then we go to paragraph 9.16, page 27 of 71, the word outstanding as well is going to be replaced by ESCOM letter to NERSA confirming notification to all Section 34 IPPs. And now I'll just highlight now the sections in the addendum that are actually affecting the decision as well. Then is section 2, which is paragraph 2.4, page 2 of 71. The word note is replaced by approve. Section 14, paragraph 14.4, page 9 of 71, the word note is replaced by approve. And the decision 4 on page 11 of 71, the word noted is replaced by approve. So that's the changes that we have. I think going through the submission, my colleagues have already provided the background. What I will actually go through, it's actually the, let me see the quick way, because now the purpose will be more or less as, I'll just quickly go through the purpose because it's a little bit long, that also run through the decision that is sought. The purpose of this submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to recommend to the Energy Regulator to approve the powers and duties of ESCOM Holding under the power purchase agreements concluded in terms of Section 34 of the Electricity Regulations Act be assigned to National Transmission Company of South Africa. 2.2, it says approve the draft decision and reasons for decision, RFD, attached as Annexure A. And then 2.3, approve the ESCOM request that the NTCSA be issued with cost recovery letter for the Section 34 IPP projects. 2.4, approve the amendment of Independent Power Producers IPP generation licenses listed in Annexure 1 to substitute ESCOM with NTSA as the buyer in terms of Section 16.1. D. 2.5, approve that the RFD be shared with ESCOM. 2.6, approve that the RFD document be published on NERSA website. And as my colleagues have already highlighted on the delegation metrics, we used the 7.5, which is closer to what we've been using for Section 34, because we never had the consent, delegation metrics that we could use. And just to quickly, also the overall of the analysis, there are 3 sections that we actually analyzed. It's a decision of or assignment of rights and duties of licensee under PPAs, cost recovery, and amendment of IPP generation. Those are the 3 elements that were there in the submission. And additional information that we added on the submission is the addendum, as my colleagues have already added. We've got a letter confirming notification from ESCOM, as I alluded earlier. That was missing earlier on. And then again, the letter from the presidency, as well as my colleagues have already alluded about the timelines. And then going straight to the recommendations, which is on section 14, page 9 of 71, they are as follows. It is requested that electricity...
You are repeating them now because they are the same as your...
Oh, sorry.
They are the same as what is sought. Yeah, I would like to open the discussion up to members now, if you don't mind. I know there's the aspects on legal. I would have rather, if anything, allowed legal to talk a little bit to this, but maybe I'll be guided by questions from members. And then legal may then add. Can I open this on to members, please? For comments, for questions, clarity. It is the first one of that we've done before. This session, so it was a bit complicated. We don't have a procedure, neither do we have a delegation for it. Madam Massetti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, just again, before we get to the decision, I do want to get clarification with regards to the extent of our powers when it comes to Section 16 of the Electricity Act concerning the amendment of license. So I do understand that we may amend the license on application by the licensee, for instance, or entertain such amendment if it is brought by a party that is affected by the issue in that license. But I am concerned now with the amendments that are sought, which will affect the existing arrangements with the IPPs, without having sort of undertaken some compulsory stakeholder comments to hear what those parties are saying about the proposed changes, how they will be affected, and all of that. So I do want to get clarification in terms of our powers here, how we exercised them, how do we make sure that Section 10 is fully complied with, that the people that might be affected by such amendments have been consulted fully, and what their views are. But also just to understand what the implications then of such changes will be. At least as a regulator, we should be able to get certainty as to the implications of the proposed amendments affecting the current or existing arrangements with the IPPs. I would like to be clarified on that, Chairperson. I would like to leave it at that, Chair, because that's, for me, that is the main concern here. And I'm also not sure about the issue of coming up with the letter from our side on, or I don't know whether it's supposed to be the other entities, the approval of the cost recovery, how that is going to be done. I assume from our side we must guide in terms of the mechanism, and that mechanism will be the methodology that we approve, and therefore prices that must be charged at least are prices that will comply with such methodology as well as the Act. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Madam Assetti. Mr. Pukula.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, for me, maybe understanding, I mean, this letter, that the session of these things was done in December, and we're in March, being rushed, and the context is in some of the interactions that I've had with the presidency on behalf of NERSA, we have been seen as the entity that that is delaying this process unnecessarily. So if in our discussions here we could at least have that recorded, that it's not like we're delaying this, there were things we're doing. I don't see them from what is written here. The second comment I have, Chairperson, is these documents are documents that are going to be read by other people. And I think if I can take you to 5.9, I'm not sure if it's the 5.9 of the first document. Let me see, I think it would be. Yeah. I can start with 5.9. You see, the request has been evaluated against all applicable laws, and management was satisfied. It's not management. I mean, we shouldn't be writing things in that way. There's another one where I think 5.14. It's like, as management, we believe it is a clerical exercise required and not a. I don't know why we get to that kind of language for documents that would then be made available. It's the regulator that makes decisions. And those really are my comments, and some of the other things that are in here. I am not sure if they are required to be here. Having said that, I am in support of approving this, so that we are not seen as, in fact, we will be seen as being the ones that retarded this process, and I see no reason why we have retarded it. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Pokula. I suppose, Mr. Marathi, please assist here, both on the processes and I think on the other things. Colleagues, we're just going to change all of those things. And I must admit, I don't know why I missed it. The issue of including of words like management. The only decision maker here is the regulator. Even the ELS is recommending to the regulator. It's the full body of 9 that it's not management, colleagues, or anything similar. If we can check that, please, and actually correct it. Let's not even debate on those ones. But can we go to the legal issues? Maybe also, Mr. Marathi, you can then also indicate these delays, the source of these delays. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to members once more. Chair, probably just to start to tackle from the issue that was raised by Mr. Pokula, to say part of the delays, yes, NERSA might be seen as maybe a bottleneck to finalizing this process, but part of the challenge that we had was the insufficient information that has been provided, that needed to be provided to us to finalize this process. And in response, dealing with that we needed to satisfy that the decisions there or the submission to be made to the energy regulator carries such facts and evidence to enable the regulator to make a lawful decision. So those were part of the delays, and many engagements in between were being held between ourselves and ESCOM, the NTCSA, and the IPP office to iron out the issues that are necessary for the energy regulator to make a decision. Other matters were not for consideration by the regulator. Chair, with your permission, I'll come to deal with what Madam Masetti has raised. And I think this matter is one big pot, that the removal of one item distills the whole process, that for purposes of the implementation of the license condition, the implementation of the regulatory enforcement and performance by any of the licensee becomes retarded, because one component would have been on the other side and the other one's remaining. Saying that part, Chair, this whole section 34 determination where everything starts, the identification of the preferred bidders who become generation licensees that were contracted to ESCOM as the seller of power and ESCOM as the buyer of such. The licenses of the IPPs read with the provisions of section 34.3, which binds the regulator to the determination that their licenses were issued only linked to the relationship with the section 34 determination and ESCOM only. And now with the advent of the unbundling that has taken place, the changes or the ceding of the rights and obligations, which are the section 34 issues, the whole basket of information needed to shift as one, because moving the NTCSA, the rights and obligations in terms of section 21.1 to NTCSA from ESCOM, but the generation licenses where they make references to selling to ESCOM, it therefore creates that disjuncture between the section 34 process and what the regulator is entrusted to do. Hence, we came to record in the submission that these aspects are interlinked, that section 16.1D of the Electricity Regulation Act
in the amendment of license and conditions. There's a part that the provision says the amendment can be done if it is necessary for the purposes of this act. And it is our analysis that the amendment of the IPP licenses on request by Eskom, which is also in terms of section 16(1)(e), that it is in line to make an orderly management of the whole process, and also to eliminate the part that Mr. Bukula touched on to say, in our regulatory exercise, it's not progressive, say, except to retard the process. That this matter, the law does enable us to have an amendment done on the licenses of the other for the purpose of this act, because if they remain like that, the application of ERA would be difficult, because the one party cannot be able to exercise their powers because they are linked with the other one and they will not be in compliant. So that has been the analysis that we went into to deal with the whole issue. And I think in my response, I've also touched on the issue that Madam Mashete has raised, that what are the implications if this amendment is not given effect? It is that risk that the conditions that NTCSA is supposed to have met throughout to be able to be operationalized from the first, that this part will again still remain and it will still need to be done. With regards to the cost recovery as well, the new gen regulations links up the issue of cost recovery with the section 34. I've noted your comment, Madam Aseti. This issue of cost recovery, to say it has been done, and it was done because the situation at the time was the one bundled process where it's Eskom only. Now with the movement that has taken place, it is that part that we say it will move with the transitional arrangements in terms of tariffing that in the previous submission the subcommittee has approved or noted, that this also is in line with that particular process, to say the tariffing part that the cost recovery is linked to, it will be addressing that part. Therefore, it will be for the authority, for the FTRM or through the CEO, to have a formal communication detailing the outcome of the decision of the regulator in this regard, to say the interlinkage, therefore, is such that the cost recovery will follow the rights and obligations that Section 21 says it will be moving towards. The issues of consultation with the other parties, Madam Chairperson, this issue of it's individual, considering that the parties that are affected by this process have engaged severally and agreed that this is going to be the new phenomenon that they will be subjecting themselves to, of having now the NTCSA taking over all the rights and obligations that existed and under the trading license. So to our reasoning, that part has been satisfied of engagement, because the only participants will be the IPPs, Eskom and NTCSA. The other parties will be the reporting to the offices that they may need to be reporting to. Chairperson, unless I've missed something, I will pause.
Thanks, Mr. Murati. Before members you follow up, I think the challenge, firstly, Mr. Pukula, we do take note of the concerns by the presidency, by all of the parties involved. Actually, we even have a letter from the DG also just urging us to make a decision on this matter before the 13th. The issue here is that this has been a very complicated matter, not because it's complicated as some of these licenses we issue or tariffs that we issue, largely because of the wording, and also because, in fact, we're talking about contracts between parties here. And all that the regulator is meant to do in terms of Section 21(1) is just give prior consent. Now, the question is, what does that mean? So even ESCOM at some point submitted a letter in terms of Section 34. It went via the minister to ask that NTCSA be designated. But the regulator, that decision was made long time ago. All this is just the sessions. It's been a very difficult communication to try to then end up to have a landing that says, okay, so how do we handle this session? This prior concern. So that has been the issue. Having said that, though, it's no excuse that it has taken this long. And unfortunately, if we don't make a decision on these matters that are pertaining to the separation of NTCSA, where in our case it's just really just giving concerns or whatever the issues might be, that the parties themselves, for instance, yesterday we did receive letters that were sent by ESCOM to the whole 119 IPPs in respect of this move from ESCOM Holdings to NTCSA. We actually received copies of all of those letters yesterday, not included here today because I guess they were late in submission, but they are available. But it's no excuse for us to actually have delayed this, but it's been an extremely difficult process, not because people were trying to be difficult themselves, but because we just lack the processes. For instance, even in terms of Section 16, the invocation of that Section 16(4), the paragraph that was quoted by Mr. Murat, even that was meant to assist, because as you change one contract, you need to change other contracts, and you need to make sure that the parties, there is agreement as raised by Madam Asset in terms of Section 10. It is an extremely difficult one, but it's actually a process outside of the regulator. Ours is to give consent. It's just that concern. The question is, how do you go about doing that? Having said that, though, Kula, I think we owe it to the people of South Africa not to be the bottleneck. So we owe it to actually provide that consent. Hopefully, having satisfied ourselves that we've covered all of the angles as broadly as we could in terms of this process, and maybe to, even if it's possible, to take the matter out when it goes to ER on a round robin, something that I will request. But I guess it's actually something outside of this process. But we do owe it to the people of South Africa to not be seen as the bottleneck of this process, because this matter needs to be concluded before the 15th. So having said that, I don't know, Madam Asset, whether you actually have been fully answered. Mr. Pukula, on the issues that you've raised, I must admit, I take full ownership of that. Should have picked up those words as well in the RFD. We need to be careful in terms of, and we've raised this before. It's things that Mr. Shozi and I are going to continually be on the lookout for, the words that are put in this document. There's only one regulator here, and it's important that it is recognized that way, and any other innuendos that may have come into this. That's what we'll commit to as we finalize the RFT. But Madam Aseti, are you covered? Would you be comfortable in making?
Yes, Chairperson, I'm covered. Thank you.
All right, no, thank you. With that, members, this is a recommendation to ER. Unfortunately, this matter is not delegated to any committee. So it is a recommendation, as has been read by Mr. Ngwasheng, read in detail, but that's captured fully under paragraph 14 with those changes, and from noting to approval in the manner that has also been indicated by Mr. Murati, how that would be effected. So, with show of hands, members, can we?
Person?
Yes.
Can we also just enhance the process, because as other divisions do now, it's part of the submissions. to indicate the date, the initial date of filing of this matter, and then indicate what information was missing at that time, so that we can see the nature of the information and the significance of that information. Then indicate the date by when that information was submitted to the regulator, to then enable the regulator to do a thorough evaluation of the request. Then the date of provision of that outstanding information, to the extent that it was significant, will then become the official date of the filing of the request itself. And that is so that the regulator can be transparent, first of all, but also the regulator does not just take a blame when the requester has not provided sufficient information to enable the regulator to do a thorough evaluation. So if that can also be included, so that we can also take care of the important issue that was raised by Mr. Bugula before we go to the ER. And I see that has been omitted, and it should be part of the decision that such information be put there, and the submission and the reasons for decision must reflect that kind of a process regarding the official date being the date when all of the information that was necessary was then provided, at least to the extent of commencing the evaluation by the regulator. And then also the process of consultation. How long did that take to make sure that at least we comply fully with PAJA, but also with Section 10 of our legislation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Mr. Shozi, we can include, there is a table that the other divisions have started. If we can include that, if we can try to incorporate that into our processes as well going forward. Mr. Pukul.
Thank you, Chairperson. There's also something that dates that have been mentioned here, and I think it will be a little bit amiss of us as the electricity subcommittee not to then indicate that we would have to require a special meeting of the energy regulator as part of the resolutions we are making if we are going to meet these terms.
Thank you, Mr. Pool. I wasn't sure whether it was a governance matter, but I really would have, because there is an item there which is attached, and there are dates that have been indicated there, responsive by no later than the 13th of March, for instance. So I wasn't sure whether to handle that as part of these recommendations or to actually have that under governance. But for me, it would be useful if we can include it if we can include that as a recommendation. First price is either it's a special ER meeting or a round robin, whichever one is going to be practical. Chairperson,
it's a resolution, Chairperson, because it's a significant resolution.
Okay.
As it is a matter that is that is in the public interest. So a matter that is in the public interest, it's important that at least we show how the regulator undertakes its activities to make sure that it meets the timelines and show the efficiencies in expediting things that will have a greater impact in the country. So that is a matter of a public interest, and I believe that the regulator can indicate that it has taken a special resolution to then have, or will take a special resolution to have a special ER for this matter in order to meet the deadlines that are quite looming, or that are looming as shown in the document, without really discussing it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Mabunda, guidance?
Chair, just a small guidance here. In terms of the resolution to either consider the matter via a round robin or special ER meeting, we don't have the powers to approve that. However, I think if we can approach it in this way to say the chairperson of ELS is going to request the ER chairperson for this matter to be dealt with either by round robin ER or special ER outside of this meeting, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. But I guess the resolution is that the resolution of ELS, so that we resolve that we will expedite the actual recommendation to ER. So because we can't dictate how the ER will make its own decisions, but we can all we can do is recommend, and we will do as such. So we can include that as a resolution that we will recommend that this issue be expedited in terms of a decision to meet the timelines that have been requested. We've got a timeline of the 13th of March, so we need to expedite this process ahead of that. So with that, members, with the inclusion of that resolution, however, Mr. Mabunda, please word it properly. I do not profess to have worded it properly, but word it properly such that it does not break our governance rules. But with that, can I then recommend that we then can I see by show of hands, members, if we can recommend to the ER all of the issues that have been put forward. Madam Aseti, thank you. Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Mr. Bokul. I also support. You have your decision. And with that, really would like to apologize to NTCSA, to South Africa, to ESCOM, to all of the parties for the role that we may have played in this delay. We seek to actually improve going forward. Thank you. If we can then move on to agenda item number 14. This is serving here for the second time. If we can just indicate what the changes are, Mr. Shozi, and
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chairperson. Mr. Ramokoka, I would like you to introduce the submission. Just touch on the issues that how we have dealt with this revocation, the recommendation, how we have crafted in terms of revoking the distribution license. Touch on the issue of section 17.3, and also touch on how we have dealt with the similar request in the previous decision, and then take members to the recommendation. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Mr. Shozi. Chairperson, good morning, members. Chairperson, this is an application by Lejaja for the revocation of its license. Chairperson, this is for the second time it comes here to this ELS. Let me highlight all the issues that we have improved on as we were requested. Chairperson, yes, we do acknowledge that there's no procedure that was promulgated by the minister in revoking any license. However, the energy regulator has used the provision of the PAJA, Promotion of Access to Justice Act, when revoking other licenses. So we've included the ones that the regulator has previously revoked in terms of PAJA, which was the one of Algorex, and the other one was for synthetic fuels. So as the department also noting that there are gaps identified, NERSA team has started engagement with the DMRE under the policy advocacy initiatives to put in place various tools defining ERA. So with that, us addressing that legal challenge and the uneasiness to approve this revocation, we have enhanced this legal section. So we therefore request the energy regulator to approve the revocation of Lejaja distribution connection facility license and approve the draft decision and draft reasons for decision attached here too. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Ramokoka. Members, the submission is before us for consideration. Any further comments, questions, clarity? Ms. Spear.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the presenter. Just a small issue. So the license is transferable because when it moves from Lejaja, then it moves to Namane. So it is transferable. I wanted to confirm that. whether you use the revocation process or whichever way, because my understanding is that the license is handed over to the issuer and then the new process starts. So I wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Spear. Any other questions? If not, it is a legal question. If you are comfortable to respond to Mr. Ramkoka, please do. Otherwise, we can ask legal to actually maybe better present it on your behalf.
Thanks, Chairperson. I think the answer is no, but I'll leave it to legal to assist that, maybe in broader terms. Maybe Mr. Murati will come in. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ramkoka. Mr. Murati, if you can explain it properly. Transferability, revocation, all of those links. Mr. Murati? Have we lost Mr. Murati? But maybe do Mr. Ramkoka, please do explain. It's actually a fairly simple process, I guess.
Yes, thanks, Chairperson. Hence, I said the answer is no. Licenses are not transferable. They can only be transferred to other licensees, not any other party. So that's my answer for now. So in this case of Lejaja, this license is revoked, but however, the facility itself will in the other committees be registered in terms of the registration and exemption notice, and therefore it will be registered in that manner. So that the facility is still there, but it will be registered to Namani in the next coming REC. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Mr. Murati is battling to unmute, but maybe he can, just for the record, can type it onto chat. But as indicated, you have one applicant and another applicant needs to apply. But before the other one takes over, the one that held the license, if it's still a license, that one has to have his license revoked. In this particular case, this is not going to be a license going forward. And Amana is going to be is applying to be registered. So, but it can only be registered once this revocation has taken place. So we need to revoke the existing license first. I'm hoping it's quite clear, Ms. Sivia, but Mr. Murati will assist as well later.
Yes, Chair, it's very clear. I think maybe the confusion is because the revocation happened in this committee, but then the application will go to another committee, because that's the understanding of licenses. You hand it over, and yes, they can't issue the other side without the other one. No, I do understand. Then it makes sense. Thank you. Because I checked on the legislation. It is not transferable, the license. But the team has confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Spear. Mr. Pokolo?
Apologies, Chair. Chair, I think we just need to be careful around some of the things that we mentioned. For instance, there is no determination or prescription or exemption that has been granted by the minister on registration of distribution facilities. So I think let's limit this one to the fact that it's being revoked, and we just follow what Section 17 says, and not venture into the other things that that may cause us some harm. That's my proposal for what we are going to approve here. That we approve that it's being revoked, and the fact that another person is willing and able to do that. That person would be given a new license, but the registration part is not, to my understanding, what is in the Act for a distribution facility. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Yes, the schedule of January does include, but we take your guidance, Mr. Pokula, that let's deal with the matter before us. The actual registration will be dealt with under registration, under that process, Mr. Ramkoka. The advice here, let's not mix processes. In this particular case, all we are dealing with is this revocation. That is that is the guidance, and that is noted. Having dealt with those issues, members, can I then take you to the recommendation, which is paragraph 14 on page 6, and it is recommended that the ELS approves the revocation of Lijaja Coal Pty Limited, revocation of Lijaja Coal Limited's distribution connection facility license, attached here to as Appendix 1, and approves the draft decisions and the reasons for decision. The draft decision and the draft reasons for decision document also attached here to as Annexure A. By show of hands, members, if we can approve that. Thank you, Madam Aseti. Thank you, Spear, and thank you, Mr. Pukula. Now we will skip item 15 as indicated. To do with it towards the end. Can we then go to item 16, please? Members, I know we've been going for over 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm assuming that we are, because in the manner in which we are running the meeting, we are able to just take a walk or take a break, a slight break. So we will continue so that we have to allow us an opportunity to actually finish the agenda. All right, can we go to item 16, please?
Thanks, Chair. This one will be presented by Ms. Souza. Moni, the submission has been read just in less than a minute, ma'am. Just take the members through and go straight to the recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Good morning, colleagues. Mr. Shozi, it will be presented by Ms. Maluleke. Thank you.
Come in, Tijwal.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, EM, for the introduction. Good morning, members, management, and colleagues. The purpose of the submission is to request the ELS to note the consolidated report on customer education program for 2023-2024 financial year and deviations of the submission. The highlight of the report is to state that the most important issue that I wanted to take across the members is that we are having continuous issues of the public hearings, people, the vulnerable, the disabled, the indigent, who are complaining that they don't know when we have our public hearings. So I therefore recommend, given that we in future have budget for, let's go back to the ground, because the people on the ground don't know anything about public hearings. They even don't know how to join into virtual meetings. They feel lost and they feel neglected. So I therefore recommend that in future we may have public hearings. We can even have task teams to make sure that we go on the ground and mobilize before the public hearings, because I know for sure that there have been problems of not getting enough representation of people and businesses and forums and so forth. So I urge the members and NERSA to say that let's put this in mind, because our people are suffering and they are the majority. Let's take back the regulation to the people, because they are the majority and they are the ones that are disadvantaged. With saying so, Chairperson, I would like to humbly recommend the ELS to note the consolidated report on customer education programs for 2023-2024, as well as the deviations indicated on the submission. I thank you, Nakensa, Chairperson.
Nakensa. Thank you, Madam. Members, you've got the report before us. It's for noting that we note the concern that has been raised by people in respect of stakeholder engagement and in terms of those public hearings that we have. Any questions, comments, members? None, no observation. Thank you. So can I then take you to the recommendation? The recommendation is on paragraph 14. It's recommended that the ELS notes the consolidated report for the financial year 23-24, attached here to as Annexure 1. By show of hands, members, can we note? Thank you, Mr. Pukula. Thank you, Svia. Thank you, Madam Aseti. Your report is so noted, ma'am. Madam Massetti, lingering hand or under the okay, lingering hand. Thank you. Can we then go to item 17? Mr. Shozi?
Thanks, Chair. This one is a fourth quarter report on electricity distribution compliance audit. Again, colleagues, I'm seeing Ms. Gobe and Mr. Maebo. If we could just come in less than a minute, introduce and take the members to the recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Good day to the board members, management, and colleagues. The purpose of this submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note our fourth quarter report on the electricity distribution compliance audit. As it was mentioned earlier, we have an item 9 that was noted earlier on the plan, and these audits are sort of implementing that plan. So when we conduct our audits, we are implementing the plan that was noted earlier. I think that all I want to mention quickly are the summary of findings on page 18. As we know, none of the municipalities or licenses are complying with the distribution electricity licenses, but we do find a few of them that are doing very well, if I may say that. In this case, we have Stellenbosch that, although it did not have a maintenance plan when we were doing the audit, but they were in the process of drafting it, and they were being assisted with their maintenance by the service providers. So as much as it looks bad on the licenses, there are those that are trying, to comply. Our recommendations are on page 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kobe. Members, report is before us. Any comments, questions? None. So, members, if I can take you to the recommendation that has been read into the record, is on paragraph 14 on page 5 of 21. By show of hands, members, can we approve? Or it's for noting. Can we note the report? Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Thank you, Madam Massetti. Thank you, Madam Spear. The report is so noted. Back to you, Mr. Shozi, item 18.
Thanks, Chair. Item 18 is similar to item 17. It's a fourth quarter report on 2023-2024 financial year on the audit conducted on Eskom main transmission substation. Again, Ms. Njogu will, if you can just in less than a minute, introduce the submission and take the members through this the recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Good morning, members and colleagues. The purpose of the submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the transmission audit submission for the fourth quarter, as well as the consolidated report for all those audits. The authority is delegated to the Electricity Subcommittee just for noting, and the report will be published on the NESA website. In the fourth quarter, we audited 4 main transmission substations, which 2 of them were new and 2 of those substations were previously audited. We did them in terms of monitoring the compliance. All the reports were sent to the licensee and we got their comments back. And this comprehensive report, it has all those details of what were the findings. The findings are tabulated in table 8 of the consolidated report attached as Appendix A. It is therefore recommended that the Electricity Subcommittee note the consolidated report attached. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Njoku. Members, you've got the report before us for noting. Any comments, questions? Show of hands. None. If I can then take members to the recommendation, which is on paragraph 14, page 5 of 40. It's recommended that the ELS note the fourth quarter consolidated report, which is appended as Appendix 8. By show of hands, members, if we can note. Thank you, Ms. Spear. Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Thank you, Madam Massetti. The report is so noted. Can we then go to the report on paragraph, on item number 19? Mr. Shozi?
Chair, this is the one that Mr. Pugula had asked to be recused when it's being discussed. I don't know if that I can now start with the presentation.
Okay. Mr. Pugula.
I will leave the meeting and I will hear from Mr. Mabunda. Thank you.
He will call you back. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Please proceed.
Thanks, Chair. The submission will be presented by Ms. Njogu again, but the submission is for noting of FGRM's approval of the trading license amendment in terms of the clause 5 CNG, a stating instruction of the approved electricity subcommittee delegation matrix. Ms. Njogu, less than a minute, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. The purpose of this one is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the amendments of the trading license approved by the future full-time regulator member as per the delegation metrics that Mr. Shozi highlighted. In this financial year, up until December, because we're still busy with other amendments, we only had about 5 amendments which were approved and the licensees were notified. They were given their approval letter and their schedules were amended. This report also is for noting, so it is recommended that the ELS note the FTRM approval of the amendments of the trading licenses detailed in the table 1 above. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Njoku. Members, there is a report before us for noting. Any questions? Comments? I do want to indicate that there is a request here. There's a formal request by a number of these licensees, trading licensees, for a different way of handling this. If trading is going to truly take place at the pace that trading is meant to take place, there is a request from. It's a letter sent, and I'd assume that the team will actually deal with that as a form of an application. I guess that will be brought before us, I guess, for the full ER to actually have a look at this, whether it is still optimal in the manner in which these are done, in terms of how those Schedule 2s and 3s are actually managed. But with that, members, can I then maybe just ask that you go to paragraph 14, page 4 of 9, and by show of hands, if you can approve that, or note the actual approvals. Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Madam Massetti. You've got your decision. Mr. Mabunda, if you can call back Mr. Pokola. Mr. Shozi, once Mr. Pokola is back, if you could then proceed with item 20.
Noted, Mr. Commander.
May I suggest that he comes back, and then you can proceed, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Commander, and welcome, Mr. Pugula. Agenda item number 20 will be between Ms. Gobe and Mr. Mayebo Koboshiane. They will present. It's a progress report on the monitoring of the implementation of electricity distributors correction action plans for fourth quarter of 2023-2024. Over to you, colleagues.
Thank you, Chair. I will take this matter or this submission as has been read. The purpose of this submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the progress report on the monitoring of the implementation of the electricity distributors corrective action plan in the fourth quarter of 2023-24 financial year. The report is attached here too as Appendix 1. The Electricity Subcommittee is duly delegated as per electricity delegation matrix. NERSA conducted compliance audits on the electricity distribution licenses during the audit, in the instance of non-compliance, were highlighted in the license individual report, and the licensee were requested to develop and submit the corrective action plan with timelines to indicate now and the plans to be implemented, the corrective action plan. NERSA is then instituted a monitoring progress to enforce this implementation plan of the corrective action plan. In this quarter, the NERSA team conducted 5 monitored 5 licenses. And then I would straightly take to the recommendation, or I will request you, Chair, to go through the recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Kovashan. Thank you, Ms. Kovashan. Members, we've got the report before us for noting, the progress report. Any questions, comments? Ms. Spear?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the presenters. Chair, I think I noted quite a few instances where the audits were done, say in 2018 or 2019, but NERSA still comes back and a lot of issues have not been resolved. I think for me it was a serious issue. I think the other one was the Khatlong. It was done in 2019. I think it was Dikatlong. I wrote it down here. So when these things taking such a long time to be implemented, because for me is to say when you do the audit, you need to close those matters now, unless they are long-term ones. We need to be very specific on those ones. But then the issue that I mentioned earlier of how do we penalize them when they are not implementing this. Raymond Mhlaba, from 2019, they have not addressed issues from the audit from 2019. And so that is what I wanted to raise. We need to find a way of making sure that these matters are resolved by the licensees, and there must be implications for lack of resolving it within the reasonable time. 5 years, it's too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Madam Massetti?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm not sure if I'm raising it, the issue that I'm going to raise at the right submission here. But I would like to find out whether, I mean, I think it's a question that I've asked earlier, but now I wanted to check our proactive sort of monitoring of performance by distributors, especially when there's a number of incidents of, unplanned outages, these trips that occur maybe twice a week or so, and maybe there will even be 4 per month, and it's not necessarily load shedding, but it's the trips, and it actually does happen where you will be, there will be these outages that last for 2 days, and so forth. So I just wanted to check if the team does check the integrity of the distribution infrastructure, especially if they were to do some targeted monitoring and through their proactive approach, so that they can see which ones experience this and what can be done and so forth. Is it something that is dealt with by the same team here, or is it something that is done through the sort of these performance incentives to counter the incidents of performance by the distribution, by the distributors in terms of managing their distribution infrastructure? I just want to find out, because now those incidents have increased, not in one municipality. I think for me, I've seen that at least with 3 municipalities, and they happen to be the ones that sometimes you tend to be sort of visiting to be able to see what happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Massetti. Over back to you, Shozi, team.
Yes, I'll try. I hope Mr. Mkhize is also on call. The issue around Ms. Spear, it goes back to the original concern that she has raised. And then we as indicated, that we in the process of reviewing that compliance framework. so that it has some sort of, it gives the energy regulator the tool to impose punitive measures to those that have not been complying for a while. But in terms of the time between the audit, when the audit was taken, and the monitoring, I would want to invite colleagues who are part of this process to indicate the challenges around that, because you'll find that there is a correction action plan that will be developed by the licensee, submitted to NERSA with timelines. But that plan is just a plan if it's not funded. At the time when the plan to correct the non-compliances, it has to be executed, there are instances where the colleagues will engage with the municipality, and then the answer will be that there is no fund to address such. So there will be those continuous engagement with the municipalities. Hence, we will have the monitoring span over a long period until all the matters have been resolved. But I don't know in terms of maybe classifying those issues in terms of the short-term solution and medium and long-term, so that when we don't create an impression that whatever we've identified during the audit will be fixed in that period. Probably we can go a step further to indicate the likelihood on when those matters will be resolved completely. And then around the issue of Ms. Maseti, we do have a tool. It goes back to the issue of non-compliance. Like, for instance, when you look at the NRS 048, quality of service and quality of supply, it does stipulate how many hours the municipalities are allowed to have, because we can't have a system that is continuously running. So if there's a breakdown, it just say if there's a network is overhead or underground, it has those indicative timelines in terms of when the supply has to be restored, and then the technical audit itself, they go do to check the status of the network, and then they make a recommendation. But if those recommendations they are not implemented, then we'll be back to the issue of data raised by Svia. But just to summarize, all these issues, with what we are trying to include in the framework, we are hoping that we'll be able to try and minimize this non-compliance that have been persistent for a long time now. But yeah, it's a work in progress, Member said. And then if there's a need to continuously update the committee in terms of the report, we can do that. We would want to end, and I would want to pause there for now, unless colleagues from ELC want to add on what I've said.
Anything to add, ELC?
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. I think Mr. Shozi has articulated the challenges very well. I think for me is to say also on the Ms. Maseti's side, most of the licensees, they don't even have the equipment to measure or to monitor the level of the quality of supply, and which also is mentioned as one of the findings, which they don't implement due to fundings, because they won't have enough funds. So I will only end there, and this is in support of Mr. Shozi's statement. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to add, Ms. Corbin?
Yes, Mr. Commander, thank you. What we used to do at the beginning when we get the CAP is that it would normally have been signed by the head of department or the manager who was in attendance during the audit. Let's say 2 years, So let's take an example of an audit that was done in 2019. If we could have things our way, we would want to go back in 2021, just to give them enough time to implement, the CAP. And as Mr. Shozi mentioned, some of the things would be short-term, not needing a lot of money. And if it's replacing a transformer, as an example, it would need a budget. So we later recommended to them that we don't want a CAP that was just developed by the manager. and we asked them to take it to the council so that it can be approved at that level. But some of them do. I remember when we visited one licensee and we found ourselves in the municipal chambers trying to explain to them how we do, because apparently the manager was trying to impress, the council to say NERSA is here to do a follow-up audit, and we were called for 5 minutes to explain to them what we are doing. So we now ask the managers to take these things to the council so that this can be approved. But unfortunately, as it always is the case with electricity matters, electricity is the cash cow of the licensee. But when it comes to allocating funds for these things to be done, we never get it right. I'm sure you've seen in most of our summary of findings that where they're supposed to put 6% of the total revenue for electricity, they will put 1%. So I hope that this revision of the distribution framework will ensure that we enforce compliance as the Act is guiding us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gobe. Members, are you covered? There are no follow-ups. No, thank you. You can draw your hand, ma'am. Thank you. See your thumbs up. With that, can I then take you to the decision that is sought? The committee is being requested to note the progress report on the monitoring of the implementation of the electricity distributors' corrective action plans in the fourth quarter of the financial year 23-24, which is attached here to as Appendix 1. A show of hands, members, if we can approve that, or you can note, please. Thank you, Madam Spear. Thank you, Mr. Pokula. And thank you, Madam Massetti. The report is so noted. If we can then go to item 21. Back to you, Mr. Chos.
Thanks, Chair. Mr. Mwanza, the submission has been read. We are running out of time. Please, in less than a minute, just take members through what the submission is about, and then go straight to the recommendations.
Thank you. The purpose of this submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the report attached as Appendix A, a report on new entrants into the electricity supply industry as processed in accordance with the ERA, and also approve the posting of the report to the NERSA in the NERSA's website. This matter, Chair, is duly delegated to this committee. The report entails the generation facilities that were registered during the calendar year 2023, and also the generation facilities that were licensed in terms with the Renewable Energy Independent Power Producer Procurement Program Bid Window 6. Chair, I therefore recommend the recommendations that are set out in section 13 of the submission. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mwanza. Members, the report is before us, which is attached as Appendix A. Any questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Pokula.
Thank you, Chair. Just 2 comments. The report really gives a good picture. First one is under paragraph 6. I think that we need to protect you, Mr. Gumede, that it shouldn't be mentioned that you are the one who asked for this. I think it must just be specified that the committee asked for this. You see where you are being mentioned, Mr. Gumede, unless you requested that you must be mentioned, Mr. Gumede, in which case I'll be fine.
No, I didn't. Funny enough, I only saw it when I was reading. I didn't see it when I was signing it off. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second part, Mr. Gumede, when we are going to publish good reports like this, I struggle to accept and understand what is this kind of Excel that we are using at NERSA that can add. If you look at the investment costs, if there's one license we must revoke during this meeting, it's that Excel license that we have, and find a new one. the investment costs, you can see there that there's incorrect addition. And in fact, if you would have just 13 wind turbines, 1,600 megawatts, they would never cost you 88 million rand. So there's something wrong with our Excel and the way we add on our tables, Mr. Gumede. And I want you to give us a submission where we are going to revoke this Excel that we are using at NES. Thank you, Mr. Gumede.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't mention there was also another query from the media in terms of how we added certain numbers that did not add properly. So yeah, colleagues, I think we may have to go back to HP. You know, Hewlett-Packard had very nice. Most of us who studied in that time, I'm assuming even now, we still have that those Hewlett-Packard. Can we add properly? Because even if we don't do it via Excel, some of our additions do leave a bit. Yeah, we do need to correct it, please. I don't even know how to. I don't know how to actually stress this. Yeah, that there is no way that addition, it just stands out. And now that you pointed it out, yeah, the adding there can't be. You can't add those numbers and get the number 88. So please, colleagues, can we just please check our numbers, please? I don't.
Chair, if I may just add, when you read the submission, you get the right number, 104 billion rand, which is a bit on the high side too. But it's 103. Yeah, but if we could really get the units and the other things right, we wouldn't have this. This is a good report that has really been provided. It gives a good outline. It just gets spoiled by that, and therefore I think that anyone will start even querying whether these numbers we have are correct or not if we can't just add on the other side.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Please, colleagues, Mr. Shozi, you are an engineer as well. Please, it can't be that we make these clear errors. Yes, we have improved. I think we now need to focus on the numbers. Our numbers leave a lot to be desired, and we can't blame Excel for that. So, Mr. Shozi, you and I, please, can we do that? Just check those numbers, please. But in this particular report, colleagues, let's correct those numbers so that at least whatever that we publish correct numbers. Let's check and recheck. And a lot of it is about whether are we extracting things directly from Excel, because the beauty with the Excel is that unless you've got the commas and the dots incorrectly, it will add for you correctly. So yeah, so if it's tabulated, if it's transferred and tabulated by hand, can somebody else do the checking, please? But if it's Excel, which it should be, we just lay it out in Excel and copy the table over, we will minimize the errors. And the same may apply also to some of the RCA things that we deal with. Okay, with that, any other comments, colleagues? Members? Doesn't seem like, unless Mr. Shozi, do you want to respond? Say something? Commit your team?
Yes, yeah, as you have said, Mr. Gumede, we have started putting systems in place in terms of improving quality, and going forward, we will try not to bring submission with unnecessary errors like this. Yeah, it's a work in progress. We appreciate the Mr. Pugula's pointing out those errors. Thanks.
Thank you. I guess from where we've come from, as indicated, there's been great progress, but we do need to just focus on this Excel issue now in terms of the addition. Let's use Excel rather than try to do these things outside. Excel is great in that addition. And then if it still gives us errors, then we can revoke the license. With that, members, can I then take you to the decision that is sought? And that decision is on paragraph 13. Is that the ELS to note the report? and then to approve the approve the posting of the report on the NERSA website after all of those corrections have been made and rechecked, please. Thank you. Show of hands, members, can we approve? Thank you, Mr. Bokula. Thank you, Ms. Bambia. Thank you, Madam Massetti. The report is so noted, and the decision to post it after correction has also been made. Thank you. Item 22, Mr. Shozi.
Thanks, Chair. Dr. Klashera will present this one again, Doc. It's a second report you are producing for 2023-2024. The report has been read. If you can just quickly take the members through and then go straight to the recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Good morning to you, Chairperson, members of the ELS committee and colleagues. This submission is part of an ongoing monitoring project in the operational plan of NERSA. It is for noting, and it is we're using section 2.7 of the matrix. That is the delegation matrix, and basically the report is intended to inform the public and stakeholders about the progress of renewable energy program, and also some of the projects that are outside the procurement program of DMRE. It covers cumulative capacity, energy production, in this case for 2023, and also it also gives costs. Sorry, it indicates what are the costs of those projects in that calendar year. And we also have a section that covers the socio-economic development of the projects in terms of their obligations under the DMRE procurement program. So without wasting time, Chairperson, I'm going to take members to page 4 of the recommendations. And we recommend that the committee notes the report on the monitoring of renewable energy. This is attached as Appendix A. And just before, sorry, I step off. There are just few mistakes. I think we guilty of this. The energy referred to on page energy production sort of 17,800 is in fact 17,920.
Which page is that?
I mean, that is on the cover submission, page 3. So that energy is in fact 17,920. We had to update the biomass, which produced 120 gigawatt hours. So I just want to correct that. Thanks, Chairperson. There are obviously other few mistakes that the editorial service has pointed out. We will make sure that those are affected before we publish. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. All right, members, we've got the report before us. Any questions for noting? Any questions, comments? Mr. Bokula?
Thank you, Chair. I think Dr. Klashera then has stopped us or me from pointing out these things. Maybe the other presenters must follow his route of saying there are mistakes and I'll correct them, and then we'll see them if they're corrected in the next one. But on a serious note, Chair, there's a table, I'm just struggling with my convening, but there's a table that has the costs and the amounts of savings that have been achieved by Eskom. And my question in that table is, I just can't get it now, is that what this would be meaning. I think on my notes it says under 5.16 or 5.15. What this means is that maybe the measure or the metric that we have used to allocate funds for Eskom maybe is a little bit on the overpriced side if they are able to meet the exceed the demand savings, but still not spend all of the money. Is it something that we need to look at and recalibrate that figure, or is there some magic that Eskom has done? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that question. I actually noted it as well. I'm just trying to find, it's on the demand, but I'm sure you know which table that Mr. Bokula is talking about, Doc. If you can then maybe just respond to it. It's on a demand, demand management.
Is it not table 5, Mr. Bula, the one on page 20 of 24? The one that gives the column for energy, gigawatt per technology, and also the costs that that energy basically, that what Eskom is paying for in terms of the PPA. Table 5 on page 20 of 24.
Yeah, Doc, you can answer just in principle, how is that possible? Is because we are over allowing Eskom, or how did you arrive at savings?
The one about demand, I think it's figure 9 on page 18, which just gives us the impact of these projects in terms of the demand. That is the way they are seen. They are seen as they are basically reducing the demand in that they are non-dispatchable. So in essence, they behave like a load because they vary. There's this intermittence. So what we were showing there is in fact just that by having renewables on the grid, these other power plants which are firm, the ones that Eskom is planning around in terms of availability, this is what they see, let's say on an hour-to-hour basis, that is hourly, in terms of what gets left over from that demand, which would have been there, let's say, if we didn't have renewables. But that by having these renewables, they are reducing the demand in that sense. But obviously, they are fluctuating. So that fluctuation, it's there, and the effect of having those renewables is just to reduce the demand on the system. But you can't plan around that. But then coming to the prices, obviously these projects, as I said, they are fluctuating. So the costs that they have, for instance, what we're showing in table 5 is just the amount in the PPA, nothing much. I hope I've answered Mr. Bula, but I don't know. I think I may have answered, but maybe I'm not. But if he's talking about demand in this sense, it's for the system itself, a system that has got renewables, and we're comparing it to a situation where you don't have renewables. So when they're not there, for instance, if you were to just switch them off now, your demand would be the line, the bold line in figure 9. That is, it would be high. But because of the overall impact across the country, then the system sees a slightly reduced demand. I think that's what we were trying to show as colleagues there in figure 9. I hope I've answered. Thanks, Colin.
Okay, we will see whether I've answered. Madam Aseti first, and then I'll lecture. Unless Madam Aseti, you are comfortable in me allowing Mr. Bukula to go first, because it's actually a follow-up and clarification.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
Chairperson. I wanted to say that Dr. Klasheka, as I think the explanation is a little bit complicated. I would like to benefit from the issue raised by Mr. Bukula as other members when clarification is provided. It should benefit other members, but I'm finding it difficult to understand. Yes, because I am not sure if it adequately addresses the issue that Mr. Bukula is seeking to deal with, because I'm sure he understands Mr. Bukula those things very well, but I'm sure there's an issue that doesn't come out right, and I'm not understanding, because now the message that I can take away as being a non-engineer and non-technical person on this issue, then it is that these renewables are reducing demand. What does that mean, that reducing demand? So I'm taking something that is not perhaps necessarily the issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Bukula?
Thank you, Chair. I think Dr. Klasheka may explain that part around what he means by the demand and the reduction by this thing. But I agree with Ms. Masset. It may not really reach what he wanted to get to. But the question that is on page 8 of 32, that's the other part of the question that I asked, is on that table. It doesn't have it's not titled, but it's page 8 of 32.
Page 8 of 32.
Yeah.
I've got 24 pages. Have I? Yes, Mr. Rakalaka, if you can assist,
Yes.
please.
I wanted to come in. I think Mr. Bukula's question is actually on the demand response submission, which is still coming. It's not on the performance, on the renewable energy performance report. So the submission is still coming, but the presenter for that one, I hope he knows the question so he can answer. Thanks.
All right, because I must admit, I was also looking at that because I saw that, but I couldn't find it on this one. So it's on the incoming one. This one is on page, it's 22.
Okay, I will wait for us to get to that, but it is what Dr. Klashega was asking, because I think I was trying to find the other correlations with this, but I'll wait, Chair.
Okay, no, thank you. But perhaps, Madam Maseti, on the point that's being raised by Dr. Klashega, which is, I guess we are talking to figure 9, right, Doc? Because figure 9 is really about saying there is a residual demand that the more of, especially the people that are actually producing for own use, they take away the demand from the grid. And so what they're indicating there is that if we didn't have those renewable energies, what would be the contracted demand? So there would be demand without renewables and the demand with. So the dotted line is the demand with renewables. The solid line is what the demand would have been on the system had there not been those renewables. Have I captured you correctly, Doc?
100%, Mr. Kumari. That is what I wanted. It's just that I didn't realize that Mr. Pula was referring to the other submission. But we do have a demand impact that we included in this report, so as to just show that what renewables are contributing to the system. But obviously that is not the demand that you can plan around because of this, what do you call it, the nature of renewables. That is, they are
variable nature.
In this minute, next minute, they're not there. Yeah, so they don't get used, but there is an impact because obviously it's in some of the areas you'd have wind, and in some, across the country. So yeah, the geographical, spread helps in that. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So whoever is going to be responding under item 23, please respond. You know what the question is going to be, hopefully, and please address it, Mr. Pokul.
No, apologies, Chair, because I think I would phrase it from this, because I think part of what Mr. Klashega was really dealing with, I think it does have something to do with the renewables, but I couldn't find the link. But I think the question for the next submission, we'll leave it for the next submission. Apologies for creating the confusion.
No, thank you. Yeah. So whoever is presenting item 23, talk to that table on page 8 of 32. Can we go back to item 22 now for a decision? The decision that you are seeking, Dr. Klashega, is that the ELS notes that report, which is attached as Appendix A, correct?
Yes, yes, it is correct, Mr. Commander.
Thank you. With that, members, can we then note by show of hands, please? Assuming that we are comfortable. Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Madam Maseti, thank you. Madam Spear, comfortable to note? We haven't lost Madam Spear, have we? Oh, no, she's still on the call. Okay, I'm also happy to note. So we've got 3 out of 4. So with that, Dr. Klashega, your report is so noted. If we can then move to agenda item number 23. Mr. Shozi.
Thanks, Chair. As you have given the guidance that colleagues will also, with that being asked, when they are introducing the submission, also try and address the previous question from Mr. Pugula. This report, Chairperson, is on Eskom Demand Response Program for financial year 2022-2023. I need to highlight that it's the first time we are doing internally. We used to outsource the services of external auditors to do it on our behalf. But previous year, we developed a framework based on the lessons learned that you will do this exercise internal so that you can have some saving in terms of the mandate we're paying. So colleagues, please take the matter as read, but highlight the issues that Mr. Bugula has raised in terms of the objective of the project and how Eskom made those savings. Over to you, Mr. Pulugu Mukhatut, if you are leading the team.
Thank you, EM, and good day to the regulator member and chairperson and colleagues. As I take the matter as read, the submission as read, this is our the purpose of the submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the NERSA audit report of Eskom demand response for the financial year 2022-2023 as attached in Annexure A, and to approve that the survey report be submitted to Eskom. Maybe then to delve into the highlights of the submission is that, as Mr. Shozi has indicated, that this is the first time the NERSA staff is conducting the audit under the current year. This was done under the approved framework of IDM demand response. The approach that we took was that Eskom implemented 30 projects within their department, that the demand response department, that it was supplemental, and the other 15 was for instantaneous. That part of explanation is also included in page 3 of 32, that is under the motivation as to what is the objective of the program itself. And the purpose of the audit was to evaluate the effectiveness of the systems and the controls around the usage of the funds allowed by NERSA through MYPD. And I should say that NERSA, in that respect of 30 projects that were implemented, we conducted or we reviewed all the projects under DRM, demand response. So to highlight also something that is of a benefit to the country is that the committee should note that on page 3 and page 5 of 32, there are benefits of energy efficiency and demand side management that are listed, that which this project falls under. And also, I must also indicate that the team is also in the process of doing international research on the EEDSM in order to be able to see if maybe the other technologies that are not effective by Eskom or affected by Eskom can be employed, that can change or maybe try to reduce the demand that we see rising on a yearly basis. And then with that, Chair, I will take you to, and the committee, I will take you to the question that Mr. Bugula has also highlighted. The reason why Mr. Bugula and the committee is that they are maybe seen to be overachieving is because of the target that was set. So basically what we did, we aggregated all the totals in terms of the targets that were set, and then that's where the achievements or maybe the overachievements arose with the less spending of the funds that were allocated. And also, I must also highlight, I don't know if I've answered the question, but that is the reason, Mr. Bugula. And also, I must highlight that it was the audit made an observation in terms of the VAT that was not included on the reporting to the NERSA, but the VAT part is included when the payments were made. With that, Chair, I would like to take you through to, okay, with that, Eskom did response in terms of the observation that was made, that because it's a short-term measure, they can action it ASAP. They have ensured that the completeness of the annual report will include the VAT inclusive amounts in future reports. With that, Chair, I would like to take you to the recommendations that is on page 11 of 32, which reads that the recommendations that the ELS subcommittee note the NERSA audit report
of demand response program for 2022-2023 year as attached, and approve that the demand response report be submitted to ESCOM. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhatuzi. Members, we've got the report before us for noting. Questions, further questions? Madam Masoti?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, the question that I'm asking here, I really wanted to sort of see the significance of doing this exercise, not just for us as we sit here understanding at the technical level, perhaps that this is what ESCOM has done and the contribution that we see from our side, but this contribution does not cascade down to the people that pay the tariffs and people that are not even able to access electricity because of the intensified load shedding. So I'm trying to really see how this fits into the effect that there is an event load shedding. Yes, it is the supply side constraints on the part of ESCOM, but I'm trying to also see how this is going to be of any benefit, positive benefit to the ratepayers, given the fact that it might well reduce the target, or it might well affect ESCOM's ability to achieve the target sales. And it means we'll also be sitting with an RCA that will have a large component of it being the shortfall in the sales in the sales target, the revenue for the sales target. So how does this help really, given that context, that you reduce something that in any event is sometimes it is actually not there? Yes, for the security of the asset, so that the country doesn't get into darkness, complete darkness. That is understood. But this kind of a program, in the context of the situation that we are in South Africa, I am trying to see what is the positive benefit. Can this really be the positive benefit if one is looking at the financial hardships that people struggle to pay, even the high tariffs, and in any event, when the electricity has not been generated, there is nothing to even sell or nothing to make available at times, but then people will still be required to take something out of their pockets as if there was electricity that was generated. And that is just because ESCOM needed particular, sales, of which sales it did not realize because it did not have the capacity to produce them. So how do we read this really, and so that we don't just take it at this level and just as a regulator, people listening to us, the members of the public listening to us, but we say that this is good. And we also know that what is happening also is affecting investment and economic activity. How do we then, on page 5, where we talk about economic benefits, how do we then say it has contributed? Contributed in what way if it has affected investments negatively, employment, big companies are closing down, people are losing jobs, and also because of load shedding. So how do we then do that, look into that economic benefits factor that we're supposed to look into in this program? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Madam Maseti. Mr. Pokula, I'm not sure whether your question was fully answered or was fully understood. Now that you are in this, would you care to comment, sir?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my question was that the amount that gets allocated for demand response in the MYPD, in the MYPD in this case, is calculated based on some benchmark number. That for a megawatt of this, you will get your demand response costing you this much. So in this case, I see that they have underspent on the funds, but overachieved on the megawatts, and I was just saying that is it time to recalibrate our measure that we use, or is there any other explanation? And I think his explanation was that it's not the full amount, but even if it's not the full amount, it still means we need to recalibrate.
Thank you. I think the question now is clear. I'm not sure, as you respond to Madam Maseti's questions, Mr. Mkhatutsi, if we can also then just maybe rephrase your response to Mr. Pukula's question. Over to you.
Thank you, sir. Maybe let me start off with Mr. Pukula's question. Yes, Mr. Pukula, you're correct. There's a benchmark that is put in place. Therefore, it is maybe the benchmark was quite low in terms of the funds, the rands and cents that were allocated. Therefore, that's why maybe they have reached, and that's why they have achieved in terms and their targets and managed to save some few a certain amount of rents. And yeah, maybe I will also ask my colleagues to assist as well. And then in terms of in case I didn't respond fully, then in case where Ms. Maseti has asked whether there are any benefits to the ratepayers in terms of this program, referring specifically to economic benefits of this thing. If maybe because if I can refer you back to page 3, where page 4 of 32, it speaks about the IDM. That is the complete program that we used that Eskom used to implement in the past. But currently they are now focusing on demand response because of maybe their projects are no longer seen as viable. As I indicated, that the team, that is NERSA team, is also embarking on research to see if there are any that can assist in alleviating any troubles or maybe any shortages that are coming through. But yes, if there were programs under IDM, minute as they may be, because IDM is just a small portion under Eskom, even under MYPD request. There could be some changes. As we see now, the changes that are effected in terms of load reduction, they are not that big, they are not that major, but the least that is happening, at least somewhere, somehow, they are managing to reduce their load, that is the load shedding that we are experiencing on a daily basis. So yes, it might not be seen by the ratepayers as it talks to the higher levels of the utility and the regulator. But yes, I think that is, I would ask my colleagues maybe to assist where they can. Thank you.
Okay, before they do, can I just allow Mr. Pukula to follow up so that you can respond to his follow-up as well? Mr. Pukula?
Thank you, Chair. I think Mr. Mkhatutsi, I'm not sure if we are understanding, or maybe it is just the way you are taking out your words about reducing the numbers or not. I think you are not getting the question and my angle right. It can be that they have under budgeted, so maybe just for the sake of progress, if you can reevaluate your response. And the second one on Ms. Maseti, I think you can have as a matter arising from this, a submission that shows how if the other two members, if Mr. Strauss and the other people who have raised their hands are not going to help, but you can show this. I don't think you are addressing it properly right now. Thank you.
I fully concur, but Mr. Shozi, I'm sure you can assist. Please assist.
Thanks, Chair. I think if my memory doesn't fail, there was an issue around the rates at which Eskom pays the participants at the for demand response. It just was raised to the regulator that rate has not changed. It has been like that for a while now. So when we approve the funds for demand response, we approve that amount, but the actual contracting and the amount versus the energy is paid at that rate. So you'll find that they are able to get more megawatts at a lesser rate. But we will have to confirm that because the report is for noting, and then probably in the next DLS we can confirm how that is done regarding underspending versus the overachieving. But that is how I recall that it has got to do with the rate at which the contractor concluded. And then the issue of the benefits to the customers like myself. Ms. Maseti, if you look, you will see when you are being told that you are on stage 4, that is what you as a customer will see. But behind the scene, then the system operator will have engaged with the participant on the instantaneous and supplementary response program to say, instead of going to stage 6, those that are participating, they are instructed based on the contract that they are in to reduce their load or their demand by reducing their production, because they've got a contract with Eskom with regards to this program. So instead of the country going stage 6 as a customer and user customer, I would not see being cut off 4 times a day, probably will be cut off 2 times. So we'll not at a layman perspective, we're not going to see it, but surely behind the scene, when the system operator is balancing the system, the first intervention is to either we ramp up the generators if that one has been exhausted, and we look at our ancillary services if they can be brought in. If not, then we as a last resort or as a result, amongst others, we go to the participants to this program to reduce their load before we go to the next stage of load shedding. If you look at the megawatt in terms of what the program was aiming to achieve, around 800 megawatts, that is around stage 1 of load shedding. So if we can be able to procure 800 megawatt from the participant, we'll have managed not to go to the next level of load shedding. That's how the customers will officially benefit. And in conclusion, the cost of building the plant and the cost of reducing the load, definitely those that are reducing the load is more effective in terms of trying to build a plant or to run the diesel generator. So again, the customers are also benefiting from that perspective. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you. But can I then request, as indicated by Mr. Pokula, I think it would be useful as a matter arising that we provide a proper write-up on this. It may be the assumption may well be that everybody understands it, Mr. Shozi. But I think if we can maybe just bring up something, it may not be for the next immediate ELS to give you time to write it up properly. But can we write up something that will give you a proper, to actually get everybody to the same level of understanding as yourselves here? Thank you. I saw your thumbs up. So that should address Madam Maseti's overall question. So you deal with it in terms of, for instance, the whole issue of demand response or energy efficiency, how that is better than building a new plant, all of those things, but put in one report for everybody to actually follow. Thank you. With no further questions, I'm cognizant of time, members. I know we've pushed this meeting to 1 o'clock, but we don't want to go beyond that. So we still have a few items to deal with. So can I just take you to the decision? This report is here for noting. If we can note, so that is the actual recommendation. But secondly, is that we then request the team to formulate a proper write-up on this, so that for the benefit of members. So something that captures that whole program properly, presents it, and even all of the assumptions underpinning it, the actual rate that's given out to people out there who are responding to this, and so forth and so forth. So if we can indicate, maybe we can even indicate which of the consumers are actually participating in that program, and if there are any benefits to them, as much as there may be benefits to everybody else. So write up a comprehensive report, and then of course to approve that this audit report be submitted to Eskom. By show of hands, members, can we approve? Oh, sorry, it's for noting. Can we note? Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Thank you, Madam Maseti. Madam Spear? Still okay? I see Madam Spear on the board, but I'm not sure whether are you still with us, ma'am? Anyway, I also support, so that's the third one. Mr. Mabunda, please check for me if Madam Spear is still connected properly, although it's still reflecting on the board that she is on. If we can then move on to agenda item number 24, Mr. Shozi. Can I request now, and maybe like I'll assist you as well as you insist in 1 minute. I'll also drive people. Just can you please try to present in 1 minute? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. That question, if you can just come in less than a minute, check the members through. The submission has been read, and go straight to the recommendation after I've highlighted what needs to be highlighted.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the submission is to request the Electricity Subcommittee to note the attached NERSA evaluation report of ESCOM transmission system planning for compliance with grid code requirements attached as Annexure A and approve its publication on NERSA website. The Electricity Subcommittee is duly dedicated as per clause 3.1 of the electricity delegation matrix of 26 October 2023 to consider this report. 4 projects were selected for the audit, and they were all found to be compliant with all applicable grid code requirements. Recommendations in section 14 on page 5 of 73 are as follows. It is recommended that the Electricity Subcommittee note NERSA's evaluation report of ESCOM transmission system planning for compliance with grid code requirements. And 14.2 says approve the publication of the report on NERSA website. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ngwasheng. Members, you've got the report for noting. Any questions, comments on it? None. With that, can I then take members to the recommendation, which is on paragraph 14, that have been read into the record by show of hands, members, if we can note as requested. Madam Maseti, thank you, Mr. Pokula. I also note. So we've got 3 members to the record. Thank you, Madam Spear. I wasn't so sure, whether you are still with us or not. Okay.
I'm battling, Chair. I am here. The computer is slow. It's running slow.
Yes, I assume so. Thank you. All right. Can we then move on to agenda item number 25? Then we'll go back to agenda item number 11. I'm hoping the colleagues are ready with the response in terms of agenda item number 11 for the decision. But Mr. Shozi, agenda item number 25.
Thanks, Chair. This one, Chairperson, is just a progress report on the exemptions that you have granted previously. Since the window one, we are just highlighting which of those exemptions have been closed and which ones are not closed. So it's just for members to note every time that they grant exemptions that there is a work that is being done. So the recommendation for this is to recommend the Electricity Subcommittee to note the status of the number of exemptions from the grid code that have been granted by the energy regulator to date and their status. It's on page 7 of 7, Chairperson. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Shozi. Done expeditiously. Members, you've got this report for noting of exemptions. Any questions, comments on the report? None. If there are none, can I then see by show of hands, members, if we can then note the actual status of these exemptions as requested by show of hands. Thank you, Madam Maseti. I'm not sure the feedback is on my side. Thank you, Mr. Pukula. Thank you, Madam Spear. There is a bit of paper that seems to be disturbing. I'm not sure where it's coming from. Okay, thank you. You've got your decisions, Mr. Shozi. Can we then go back to agenda item number 11, Mr. Shozi? I don't know whether the colleagues are now ready to respond, so we can make that decision.
The colleagues have just gave me a text message saying that they will want to process this submission through round robin after they have done some work as per the questions that came from this submission. So the submission will be processed through round robin.
Okay. So primarily they will deal with that issue around 5.4 and the questions around the actual discrepancies between the PPA process and whether, in terms of costs, to what extent it talks to cost and indicating, so it might be the issue of the length of contracts and things like that. But nonetheless, so members, the decision that is sought is that the team is requesting that this decision be made via round robin. So this, by show of hands, members, if we're in agreement with that we will then that this report is sent back to the team to update all of the issues that members have raised, and then this report will then be circulated for a round robin decision. Thank you, Madam Assetti. Thank you, Mr. Pokula. Sotobe, are you happy with that decision, that this matter will come back via round robin? I'm happy with that decision as well.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right. With that, we would ordinarily be closing the meeting completely to the public, but we have a matter, item number 15, which we would like to deliberate first in a closed meeting, and then we'll require that the meeting be closed. However, if we are in a position to come back and conclude this matter today, we will then open the meeting up again so that we can then tackle that issue. So may I just then request the indulgence of the stakeholders out there that in terms of, I would like to perhaps invoke section 8.9 for us to deal with this matter in a closed session first, and if need be, we'll then reopen again. But if we don't reopen, I would then like to then thank the members of the public who may be following us for the time that they spent listening to us and following our work closely. And we don't take that for granted. We thank you. But if we do open it up again, we will just open briefly for just that discussion on item 15 and then close again. Mr.